Fake Nerd Podcast. I have a very serious question for you all. What's your favorite scary movie? Brandon?
Oh, I was confused. I was like, wait, are we going to go one at a time?
What is it, Brandon?
I think it's actually Halloween 2018.
Okay, very modest, good reboot. Nicely done. Sparks, what's your favorite scary movie?
Not really sure. We actually had this conversation recently. I'm not 100% what my favorite is, but Scream and Scream 2 are definitely high up there. Gun to my head, it's probably Halloween, the original.
It's not going to be a gun to your head in a few minutes.
Maybe It Follows also. It Follows is real good.
That's a good one. Yeah.
What follows?
Oh, yeah. Ben, I can't follow. Ben, I got to make you watch that movie. Holy shit, you will have a bad time.
I was trying to do a who's on first, what's on second sort of situation. So, okay, Ryan, what's your favorite scary
Quickly
movie?
devolved into scary movie.
I'm not doing this. I'm not finishing with this voice until we get through all your favorite scary movies.
Depending on the day, either John Carpenter's The Thing or Hereditary.
Excellent choices.
Yeah, I know.
I have seen neither one of those films. And
I know. We got a bunch of uncultured people here. It's okay. You know,
damn.
It's okay.
Yeah. Just like I am uncultured. Anyways, welcome to episode 313 of the Fake Nerd Podcast, where of course we were reviewing Scream 1 and 2, films that I have never seen, films that these guys definitely have seen, because we are getting ready for Scream 6, or as we like to call it here on the show, Screevy. Or Screevy, or
I like it.
Vi, or I don't know, however I pronounce the I or the E. But of course, we have Brandon, Sparks, and Ryan, and I am Ben Magnet, and my favorite scary movie is Halloween, the original.
Then you've seen like 7 horror movies.
Halloween,
which is a good movie.
One, right?
Original.
Oh, original? Ben,
I'm proud of you.
I love you.
I'm proud of you.
I would say followed closely by Alien.
That's a good answer.
Hell yeah.
That's
you know what? Excellent choice. Excellent choice.
It's a really good movie.
Yeah. I don't want to say
consider real quickly. Would you guys consider Aliens a horror movie? It's an action horror, right?
No, it's
I consider that more of an action movie than anything.
I would call it action thriller. There are moments of like suspense and terror and everything, but I would put it more in the
when you're
genre
killing aliens, it's no longer scary.
This is just like
if we did consider it a horror, that would be my favorite horror.
Sure. Yeah. I think it's just a little too far outside of the genre.
Does that movie scare you?
No, I wasn't saying, but
just enjoys the movie.
No, I know. I'm asking that's why I don't consider it a horror movie. So like
there's one solid, I think, genuinely scary sequence in Aliens.
It's been too long.
Yeah.
I can't think of the specific scene.
Get away from me, you bitch.
I just thought of one.
It's pretty much the part where you think Newt's gonna get it.
They must have come out at night.
Yeah.
Oh, when she's in the sewer.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good sequence. It's a really good movie.
That's pretty spooky. It's pretty spooky.
I quite like that movie. I just thought about I just had a flash of a horror movie where I was just like, you know what? Oh shit, it's Evil Dead.
And the one where she's trapped in the room with the face hugger. She
can't
figure out where it is.
That's pretty good.
That's a good
scene. Pretty suspenseful.
Yeah, that's a good scene.
Anyway, if you want to hear us talk more about the Alien franchise, we did that. So go somewhere else.
We sure did that one years ago.
We've done Alien, we've done Predator, we've done many franchise discussions. A lot of them have been specials. Some of them we fit into episodes. We one time I think we did Terminator as an episode.
We did.
That was a mistake.
That was
early days of us learning.
But we are going so as we have learned, there are so many franchise movies coming out that we are so excited for, and we want specifically Ben to experience most of them, because I think he hasn't seen any of them with the exception of Indiana Jones.
Yeah, that's fair.
So we're going to go through them, and we decided to piecemeal them. So we are going this week Scream 1 and 2, and next week will be Scream 3 and 4.
Woo! But then there's a pause. Because Marvel shows up for a bit.
Yeah.
And then a Marvel movie happens. And we'll do Scream 5. Scream 5 will probably be a special.
Outside of the regular podcast episode.
Cherry on top.
We just got too much going on.
Yes. And so, but they will be available all together on the audio feed, all together on the YouTube channel. You'll be able to find them very easily. Should you want to just have those episodes available to you, you will have them.
Man, that's a great point, Brandon. Do you think that possibly there are some other points you should bring up, like links?
Oh my goodness, Sparks. Yes. Speaking of the network, there are plenty of links in the description below, such as our Fake Nerds Watch new audio channel. I talked about it last week. I'm going to talk about it again this week. The audio channel for Fake Nerds Watch is still linked below. You can go subscribe to that because, hey, you watch Fake Nerds Watch, now you can listen to Fake Nerds Watch. And what can you listen to? The Last of Us, episode 3.
Yeah. A lot of people talking about it. You should listen to us talk about it.
Which is available in audio and video format, linked below.
Yes.
As well as there was something I wanted to say about that. But real quickly, the audio feed, the Fake Nerds Watch audio feed is so if you guys remember last year, I believe I did a Fake Nerd family page on the website where it linked to all of the shows that we've done. The audio feed for Fake Nerds Watch is now available there as well. So plenty of places where you can find that. If you want to subscribe to it, you can.
Perfect.
As well as Basement Arcade pause menu. The Q4 for 2022 episode is up now, both audio and video. You guys recorded that one. You have anything you want to say about that?
Yes, it's the fourth quarter of 2022. We recorded it late because of scheduling, and then it came out later because of technical issues. But it's here, and it's fixed. It's great.
We still talk about a bunch of great games. So
yeah, we do.
Go check that out.
Yeah, totally. Check it out.
So that's linked below if you guys want to check that out. I have a lot of links in the description. There's personal links if you guys want to check those out. I have nothing from the network this week, which is fine. My first article for CBR is linked below. It is currently published under CBR staff. I'm fixing that because that's not okay. But you can find that linked below. I talk about Star Trek Picard Season 3, some of the things that I'm excited for, some of the things that people should be excited for Picard Season 3. All the buzz around that season is it's good. I'm hopeful. So you can find that linked below, as well as a Gamera article that I put up for kaijuramenmedia.com. As you know, I'm an editor for that website, and I also write for them. You can check out my article on speculating what the other 4 monsters that Gamera is going to go up against in the Gamera Rebirth anime series. For those of you who don't know, the trailer dropped last week, and it was like Gamera versus 5 monsters, and they revealed Gauss as one of them. So I speculated who the next 4 could be, and I really dived deep into some Gamera lore, and that was a lot of fun. I think it turned out pretty good. You can check that out, linked below. Very quickly, speaking of Kaiju Ramen, because this is also part of something that I did, the magazines are out and you can purchase them. The purchase link is below for anyone who wants to purchase issues 6 and 7. I'm in issue 6. My Dawn of the Monsters piece is in issue 6, and I think it turned out pretty cool. You can see it right here for those of you watching the video. Dawn of the Monsters. It was an issue late due to a printing error, but it is there. So if you guys want to read that, purchase link is down below. There's a lot of cool articles in here. There's a Godzilla history of video games in issue 8, which is fascinating. And then I put up my top 15s, my top 15 of 2022, my top 10 of 2023 on the blog. That's linked below if anyone wants to. I worked pretty hard on them. They're really late, so I understand nobody wants to read them, but they're there. Ben, however, has 3 links in the description. Ben, your DN Dark episode 14.
Yes, and thankfully I was just able to fix my microphone because I coughed and my desk moved a hot second and said, your mic was unplugged. I was like, oh, son of a bitch. Oh, yes, Dean Dark, episode 14. This episode is really cool because myself and the party, we fight our doppelgangers. We came in contact with a really creepy mirror about 3 or 4 episodes prior to this, and now we're fighting. And it's not fun. I mean, it's fun, but it's not fun for our characters.
I have to imagine it would be going better if you still had a good weapon.
That's funny. Yes. I listened to the episode. It's very good. I like the idea of fighting your doppelgangers. It's a lot of fun. So good job on that one to the crew and you, Ben.
Thank you.
And of course, 2 new episodes of Grayson Live. You were a guest on Grayson Live once again to do your Super Mario World cleanups.
Yep, still going through the Mushroom Kingdom, still trying to get all the stars and the flagpoles that we missed the first time around, and we're almost done. We're getting there.
Very cool. So episode 13 and 14 are linked below. And that's all the links.
Woo!
Who wants to go first?
Me, I will. It's me. I'll do it. I don't have much to say about the things I did because there's just not a very good reason to, and you'll see why. I played God of War Ragnarok. Not going to say a lot about it here. This isn't a review. I'm playing it.
We briefly talk about it on Basement Arcade Quarterly Q4 if you want to hear some of his impressions.
That's
We
completely
do.
true. Go check it out.
Yep.
On pause menu. I watched The Last of Us. Not going to say a lot about it here. Go watch Fake Nerds Watch. I have been watching Community again, and I'm only making a note of it because I finished it because my mom was watching it for the first time, so I've been watching it in the background with her. Community's a great show.
Yeah.
Community's a great show. I'm excited for the movie. That's all.
6 seasons and a movie.
I finished Cult of the Lamb this week.
Man.
I went back and killed the last god.
The one who remains. What's his name?
The one who waits.
Near Demir.
No, his like the one who the one
who waits.
The one who waits.
But then you learn his real name from like the god before, which is like Near Demir or something. Yes, Cult of the Lamb, great game. I'm really glad that I finally brought it to a conclusion. I actually finished a game in recent history, and I'm pleased.
When games aren't 45 hours long, you can. It's a lot easier.
Yeah, it's true. Okay. I also finished completely catching up on Kaiju number 8. That is
Beautiful.
79 chapters.
Love it.
And it's really good. I think that there's an amount of it where it's kind of like you got some pretty shonen tropes going on, but the monster designs are good, the plot's good, the characters are endearing enough. The last arc before this current one of the background characters started getting developed more, and I think if they keep that trajectory of like bringing some of the people from the background more forward, it's going to be a really well-rounded cast, and I'm still enjoying it. I read all those chapters. Kaiju number 8. It's a hot ticket manga item, y'all.
Soon to be an anime. That's because everything becomes an anime these days.
I believe next year.
Yeah, they hope. We'll see. I hope that they space it out the way that it should be, because it can look really cool if they take their time. And then the last thing is, because it's kind of related to today, but I read Marvel 1602, the original series. 8 issues.
What a coincidence.
By Neil Gaiman. On Ryan's recommendation. Also because I'd been meaning to finish it. I read the first 2 a long time ago, and then I just didn't, because I didn't have access to the rest, read it. Really like that. That's a great series. I'm really glad I did it. Thank you for telling me I should. I was like, you're right, I should. And I sat down and I did it.
Did we not do that for a book club years ago?
Did not.
We sure didn't.
Interesting. I also seem to recall doing it as a book club, but
I even looked through the book club just to be sure. But I usually remember Marvel picks.
Yeah. We did it. I'm sure. Ben, we'll get to the bottom of it. I'm sure we did something with it.
We will. I'm pretty sure we did. That's why I didn't say 1602, because I knew I read it a long time ago.
Do you remember reading it for the podcast?
No.
Yeah.
I'm sure we probably didn't. Ben and I, maybe we just did something together with it somehow.
Probably.
Anything else, Sparks?
The only way I think Marvel 1602 might have been is if it was in the all of us reading at once period.
Possible.
Which I maybe.
Oh yeah, so 4+ years. Yeah, my memory. Yeah, that's true. True.
But yeah, no, that's it.
Lovely,
cool. Anyway, Ryan or Ben?
No, you can go.
Okay, because
I don't always do the same order for everything.
If we don't always do the same order. So yeah, I've been gone for 2 weeks. I was not here last week. I was out in the desert visiting family, and that was fun.
With no name.
Yeah, on a horse with no name, and that was fun. It was a nice little getaway. Then I came home and I got sick. That was not so fun.
Not the C word though, right?
No, not the C word.
All right, then you're fine.
No,
you're not fine, but you know what I mean.
definitely not the C word. But other than that, really the main thing I've been doing media wise is I finished Sonic Prime on Netflix. So I'm like, woohoo, finish that. I'm behind on Legends of Vox Machina. I've been meaning to do that today, but I was taking care of some chores. But one other piece of media that I've been doing is I've actually been playing the original Final Fantasy PlayStation Portable port on my PlayStation Vita. And I gotta say, I know the Pixel remasters are out, and the Pixel remasters, they do a great job of remaking how the games looked back in like the 8-bit era on the NES. That PlayStation Portable port, though, is amazing. It is so fun. The sprites are beautifully detailed. The artwork is gorgeous. And as I'm playing this, I'm like, I don't think I could ever play I could, but I don't think I would enjoy the original Final Fantasy as much on a different system. Definitely, I probably wouldn't enjoy it as much on the original Nintendo, even though I do have it on my NES Mini. But Final Fantasy is actually, I've been really enjoying it. I know that it's the first of a thing, and people are like, oh yeah, it's the first one. It's very Dungeons and Dragons-y. It's very high fantasy. The plot isn't really anything to write home about. You got a dude who's trying to bring the end of the world, put the 4 crystals in peril, standard fantasy stuff, but it's really fun. It's really fun to go and explore. Sometimes the random battles can get a bit annoying, but that was early Final Fantasy for you. And the PlayStation Portable port is really well done. They bring a whole bunch of quality of life improvements. Like you can save your game whenever you want. You don't have to go to certain save points. And also, they got rid of the spell slots. In the original Final Fantasy, you only had like certain slots for spells. This time it's just like, nope, you get MP, but all the other stuff like level up, when you level up, you could get a good level up or a bad level up. And some stats will go up, some stats will stay the same. You don't know what's going to happen. And they kept that from the original game in this one, and still it's a great time, and I'm having an absolute blast with it. And with me playing it, I will definitely say if anyone wants to give the original Final Fantasy a shot, I would say try to find the PlayStation port, the PSP version. That port is really well made and really well done.
Very cool.
And you said you're playing it on the Vita?
Yeah, I'm playing on my Vita.
That's a remarkable little system. That thing failed, but like it's a really good little system.
Yeah. Also, I got mine modded. I have my Vita modded, and so I could run a few other emulators on it. And that sucker is packed to the brim with a bunch of great games on it. And as I'm playing this, I'm like, man, I'm actually kind of upset that I didn't dismiss the Vita, but I just wasn't really into the Vita when it came out. I didn't say, oh no, get that away from me, even though I'm still a big PlayStation guy. But I really think Sony kind of like, they definitely undersold, or not undersold. Well, obviously they undersold. They like underhanded the Vita maybe just a little bit.
Well,
I mean, they didn't try as hard as they did with the PS4.
Well, I mean, they're completely different systems, but yes. But also, like the Vita had an Uncharted game and it had a God of War game, and that didn't sell the system. So it's also just a market of people don't want to play God of War on a small screen. That's what it was. The entire Vita experience was we're bringing the couch experience in your hands, and like that's not what people want to do. They don't want to play an entire game that looks like that. Generally, like like. Handheld games are not the same as console games. They're not trying to do the same thing. Like that's the whole point of it being portable. Not to say those experiences can't exist, because again, like the original PSP also had like a God of War, and that game's fun. It did. But like it was trying to be like this big experience, and it was also expensive when it came out because it was a really good device. They were asking a lot of money for it.
Well, also Sony kind of screwed up with the whole the internal memory thing too.
Oh, doesn't it? You had to have like a proprietary like memory stick, like you had to buy there. Yeah.
That's why I meant to say proprietary memory. You had to buy a Sony specific PlayStation Vita memory stick. You couldn't just go and buy a regular SIM card or anything like that.
They're still like that. Like the webcam, you can only use a PlayStation webcam that you have to buy.
When you can expand your memory inside of your PS5, you will only be able to do it for PS5 with their drives.
Yeah, which are infinitely more expensive than a PC one you can just buy for your Xbox that you can just easily do it because it's literally the same thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Vita is a really cool system. I'm glad you're enjoying it. A little late, but like it's a big resurgence. Like video game, resurgence is always possible.
Well, even nowadays, a lot of people, or at least people on like retro gaming circles, they've been talking about how they're upset that they're mad at themselves because the GameCube in 2023, it's hard to find. It's pretty expensive, but everyone is clamoring to try and pick up GameCube games. Whereas when it came out back in 2001, those exact same people were saying the system wasn't that good.
Yeah, I mean that's people are different. 20 years ago, like your taste changed. Like Sometimes you just don't know what you got until it's gone.
Oh no, same with Sega, the Sega Saturn. That is a hot ticket item. Those systems, they're hard to find, they're stupid expensive, and the games are even stupid expensive.
Yeah.
But yeah, other
It's
than
really
that,
like a general thing of we just need a better job of like maintaining video game history. We just do.
Mhm.
Like piracy should not be the go-to option for actually getting to access. Like I'm not gonna say like every video game. There's a lot of video games, but like the majority should have easy ways to find and get access still today. It's kind of crazy that we're not better about it. Like movies and TV shows, the way that they are, should be about the same.
Yeah.
You mentioned it before. You mentioned this before, Sparks. The idea that there should be like, I believe you said there should be like 2 consoles. There's the new PlayStation 5, for example, and then there's the backwards compatible to everything console.
Right.
That you can play everything, and that would help be like, hey, this is, you want to keep playing those PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2 games? Here you go. And it's
even if you
cheaper
don't
console.
Right, and like it can take physical discs, but even if you don't want that, like you don't have to manufacture new ones. Like make everything digital, but like actually dedicate work to it. We do the same thing with film. The movies we're watching today are from 1996 and 1997, and we watch them on a gorgeous 4K remaster. They look like they were filmed yesterday. They look so good because they have love and attention put into them, and they're kept for history.
One of the biggest
video
problems,
games need the same treatment.
I love that we're taking this long on the video game topic, but like this will be my final thing on it. PlayStation specifically, it's harder for them to do backwards compatibility because they often use proprietary stuff on all other systems. Yeah. So like it's not like Xbox to 360 to Xbox One where it's all the same PC stuff. The PS1 to PS2 is generally the same. PS3, they really effed up and they did their own thing. And that's why it's hard to play some PS3 games on like modern systems. That's why they run like shit. That's why the emulations for like the PlayStation Plus stuff doesn't run well, because like instead of just doing what everyone else does and uses a PC model, which works, they're like, let's do our own thing. Let's be different. And you're like, you keep failing. Why do you keep doing this? And now PS5 is just doing that. And it's like, oh, look at that. Beautiful. Now their stuff's on PC selling millions of more copies. Like, should have done that from the beginning.
I wanted to play Lego Indiana Jones, and as I had it on the PlayStation 3, and I was like, you know what? I want to play this game. I can't right now, though. I can buy it digitally, which I'm going to, but like I can't just put the disc into my PlayStation 5 because I don't have my PS3 anymore.
And if you had that on the 360, you could plug that right into your 360 or your Xbox One or your Xbox Series X. That all would work.
Or be like me and have a Wii copy and put it in my Wii or my Wii U, which I still have.
Ooh, you're like the whip.
I think I got my PlayStation 3 somewhere. Maybe I'll find it. Who knows? Anyway,
I sold mine for a PS4.
Ben, anything else?
No, that's it.
Oh, okay. Ryan, do you want to go next?
Let's go. For no reason at all, I read 3 issues of Creature Commandos. I read Tom King's Supergirl, Moment of Tomorrow. I read 3 issues of it before, but I stopped picking it up because that was when I was living in Monterey because it came out last year, and I stopped buying comics at that time. So I finished that. It's great. Terrific. Creature Commandos is fun. It's the Universal Monsters killing Nazis. Couldn't have a more fun time. Written by J.M. DeMatteis. Great Spider-Man writer. Fun stuff. I read a couple issues of The Authority. The first issue of The Authority, written by Warren Ellis. The villain is like a really, really offensive like Fu Manchu stereotype, so like I stopped reading that volume, even though like it's an old comic, it is what it is, but like also it's Warren Ellis, so I'm like I just don't want to read this right now. So I read Grant Morrison's The Authority run, which is only 2 issues, because as he was writing that, he was also writing Final Crisis and Batman, and that took over his life, and he left the book, and that book got canceled after 2 issues. They thank you so much. Thank you. They got canceled after 2 issues, and then after that, Mark Millar and Frank Quiley did a run, and I read one issue of that to check it out, see how the feel was. We'll talk about all this later. I read 1 issue of Booster Gold. Because whatever the DC thing was telling me, hey, these are what we're talking about. I'm like, I'm gonna read all that. I also read Marvel 1602 because I haven't read it in a while, and if I'm reading a sequel book, I wanted to read the original to have a lot more context. Which I also enjoyed that book. There's definitely some early 2000s mild racism stuff going on with Captain America being an Indian man, but you know what? I can get over that. Early 2000s, time, displays, Cap.
To be fair, because we're not going to really talk about that in our later book club, they do say like they do acknowledge that like he's not a typical Native American.
No, I know.
And that their suspicion is that he comes from like the Vikings coming over and like descending down and being in the
That's
Americas
fair.
originally.
Yeah.
So I'm like, at least that's there, because when he first shows up, I'm like, what is this?
It takes way too long for him to be a giant white, like, what, and the way he talks specifically, it's very
that's
like, me protect. And I'm like I get it. Like, again, early Neil Gaiman wrote that book, so like, it wasn't out of malice or anything. It's just, different time, being ignorant and stuff. Not in a negative way. Just not knowing. So yeah, that book's great. I watched Batman and Superman Battle of the Super Sons. That's a fun time. It didn't knock my socks off or anything, but it was a really good time. Love seeing those characters. Damien and John Kent specifically, they're the two leads are really good, and that's what's important. And then I bought, because I have a little extra money, because all I do is work and do nothing else, and I bought a VR headset, and I've been playing a VR headset for the last couple of days. And that's just phenomenal. So much fun. So much Star Wars shit. I can't even explain how many lightsabers I have. The dark saber blows my mind every time I wield it. Love it.
I will jump in on Ryan's week because I know he also did this, and I decided I do want to say more about it because we both watched The Last of Us. And here's the thing I'm going to say, guys, you gotta start watching the show.
They're not going to start watching. If they, after the hype of this week didn't get them yet, then they're not going. There's no way.
You gotta. You don't want to miss this boat.
I want to. I'm trying a futile attempt to get Zara through Star Trek: The Next Generation to watch Picard with me.
Yeah, sure.
Wait, all of Next Generation?
She's got a season left. I think we can do it.
Sure. Okay. It's 3 episodes.
I get it.
It's 3 episodes.
You're gonna want to get on this train.
Ben, I know. She and I
get on this train.
Okay.
She and I both really want to watch it, so we'll probably do it sometime, maybe this week or next.
I'm just saying, you guys don't want to get too
left behind.
You guys don't want to get
That's a Last of Us joke.
A year from now, where we're doing the tops and we're throwing Last of Us into a lot of the conversation. You guys are like, "Oh."
Nah, see, it's not tied. No, it's not it's just outside our wheelhouse, but they'll get to it, I believe.
I was gonna say something about that. That's fine. Anything else, or should I go?
Any audience members who aren't watching also should jump in. You should be watching The Last of Us. I'm not saying it's the greatest show on TV, but it's a good one, and you should treat yourself.
Almost 7 million people last episode. It just continues to grow every week, which is, again, staggering for a video game adaptation.
Sorry. Okay.
I recall I started watching Superman, the Super Sons movie, when it first came out months ago now, I think. And I got halfway, and then I stopped watching it. And for some reason, I just never went back. I should really do that.
I mean, like, it's good. Oh, definitely the second half's considerably better, I think. I think the second half with, like, all the good action stuff is. So, like, I think it's worth watching because then, like, the Star Wars stuff's really fun. Really fun.
Yeah.
That's
okay.
it.
I only got 3 things to talk about. I went to see Mithrigan. I'm not going to say much about that one. I will only say I really liked it. I thought it was really solid. Acting is great. Really, really enjoyed it. I'm kind of underselling it, but I really enjoyed it.
Great. I'm happy to hear that. We really got to see it.
It's on VOD.
Yeah.
I went to see Missing. A couple of years ago, I talked about Searching, which is the first film these guys did with John Cho. I was saying that praises for a long time. I really like that movie, and I'm happy to say that Missing, just as good. Really excellent thriller. Storm Reed, I believe is the actor's name, is great in it. I think that it plays with the formula a bit more than Searching does because they have more money and they can. It's incredibly surprising how compelling they can make just looking at a computer screen, which is basically all you're doing. The movie is just a computer screen with things going in and out and, zooming in like that. And it's very compelling and it's very, very good. Great thriller. Highly recommend watching it.
Nice. I'm really happy to hear that, man.
Apparently they're making a 3rd film, and I don't think I'll wait that long. I think I'll see that one day out because like they're 2 for 2.
Searching, Missing.
a crossover. Search missing.
No, I'm trying to think. What's the third word? What's searching? Missing.
Lost.
That's got to be an ing.
Yeah.
Losting.
Losting. That's it. We did it.
Overshop it. We'll think about it.
Seeking.
Seeking. There is a fun connection to searching in this movie. So if you watch one or the other, they're not explicitly linked. There's just fun little nods to searching where you can be like, oh right, I remember that from searching.
Love it.
Highly recommend. And then I finished Ted Lasso. Guys, believe the hype. Ted Lasso is a wonderful show. It's incredibly funny. It's super charming. Jason Sudeikis is wonderful. I thoroughly enjoyed it. There was a Christmas episode which we watched actually last week, which might be the funniest thing I've seen in a long time. It's just a delightful show that feels very much in the vein of Paddington, of just kind of like a warm blanket comedy that just wraps around and sometimes punches you in the gut with some emotion. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Season 3 is coming this year supposedly, and I'm super excited for that season. It'll be the last, but I'm excited.
Love it. Love Jason Sudeikis.
And that's it. That's all I got.
Love it.
Ruby.
Cool. Shall we go into our bread and butter?
Let's say hello to Babs.
Okay, so we got some sad news up top. Melinda Dillon, mostly known, I believe, probably from Christmas Story, but also Close Encounters of the Third Kind. She's wonderful in that movie as Richard Dreyfuss' wife, ex-wife. It's been a while since I've seen that movie. She was just in A Christmas Story Christmas. She reprised her role as the mother. She passed away this week at 83.
Well, she's in a couple movies that people watch literally every year.
All the time.
She's memorialized.
A Christmas Story is literally on TBS 24 hours a day on Christmas.
You can't escape it.
I
watched half of it with my grandma and grandpa, and it was awful. It's a perfectly good movie. No, it's a perfect.
Done this before.
No, I know.
Yeah.
No, I know. But it's a perfect. I haven't watched it in a really long time. No. And I'm watching. I'm like, this is totally serviceable. But watching it at Christmas make me realize like people watch this every year, and I'm like, it's not that good.
It's not.
And I've still been able to escape it.
I'm honestly surprised. We talked about this already when Christmas Story Christmas trailers coming up. But like, I am still surprised that because of that 24-hour marathon that plays on TBS every year, that you haven't seen it, at least a clip or something. Anyway.
Always seen clips, but I've never seen the whole film.
Anyway, Lisa Loring, who is the original actress who portrayed Wednesday Addams on The Addams Family in the early days, passed away at 64.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
Rest in peace.
That's sad.
Yeah. Lived long enough to see the new show, though, so it's kind of cool. Her legacy is cemented that way.
Absolutely, yeah.
Iconic character. Okay. Some Dexter news for anyone interested. Dexter New Blood Season 2 has been canceled. They originally renewed it, but decided to cancel it. And a new series called Young Dexter will be developed.
Again, I mean, like I love Dexter until I didn't, like everyone else, because it had a bad last season, and then I didn't watch the new season, even though I was really, really stoked for it. But also, I didn't hear the best things about it, so that's why I was like not super ready to jump in, because I'm like, well, it's not the old show, so like I don't need to watch young Sheldon, but with a murderer. So
I was gonna say, like, to be honest, like if you don't have him in the role,
the young
is there
Sheldon
even
kid?
a point?
Yeah. The thing is, like, Dexter growing up, like that is vital to his thing. Like, he grew up with a dad, and Dexter is a serial killer. He's a murderer, but his father helped him hone his quote unquote skills to only go after bad people. So like his origin is actually really fascinating. So that is a story I don't mind being alive, being born into movies or whatever, TV shows. Cause like that actually is compelling. How do two killers in the world, like who love each other, like deal with that? Trying to quell their demons. That's very interesting. I wish the show was better. Dexter.
Who plays Dexter?
Morgan. What's his name?
Anthony C. Hall.
Anthony C. Hall. There you go. Yeah.
It's just gonna
Morgan.
he's going to play young Dexter, but they're going to put bangs on him, so he looks that old like flashback scene.
You're
like,
joking, right? You're
No,
joking.
yeah.
Yes, I'm joking.
Okay. Yeah. Well, no, because like I only asked because that was what I was saying is I honestly without Hall in the role, I don't know if there's a point.
Well, no,
Personally.
young Dexter would literally be when he's like 10 years old.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I watched enough of Dexter that I'm like, without Hall playing Dexter, I don't know if I want to watch it.
His dad, I forget his name, but his dad is the guy who played Raiden in the first Mortal Kombat movie. He's like a great character actor. So if he's like the star of it, I'll watch that show because that dude rules. That dude's great.
Christopher Lambert.
No, he's in the second one.
Christopher Lambert is the first Raiden.
I don't know.
So the second Raiden from Mortal Kombat Annihilation is his dad.
Yes, you're right. Yes. Long hair Raiden is not him. Not that guy.
Not that one.
The Raiden with the cool raspy voice.
Yeah.
Not that one.
Not that one.
That's cool. That's a really good actor. So
I forgot that there was like, God, there's two different Raidens.
a lot of that cast was that cast.
Talk about that original one.
Star Wars Visions news. Season 2 of Star Wars Visions has announced their lineup, what animation studios are doing what, and the titles. But we don't know the plot line, so I have the titles here, but bear with me. We don't know what they're about.
Mm-hmm.
So 9 studios will develop episodes. They will all drop on May the 4th. Makes sense. Cartoon Saloon, which is the studio behind Secret of the Kells and Wolf Walkers, of course, many more fantastic Oscar-winning animated movies. No, I don't know how many have won Oscars, but they should have. We'll play Screechers. We'll develop the short Screechers Reach. Punker Robot, or Punk Robot. Yeah, that's a typo. It's Punk Robot, which is an animation studio based in Chile, Santiago. We'll star in, not will star. I'm so used to saying it that way. Sorry. We'll develop a short called In the Stars. Studio Mir, a studio I really like. Voltron Legendary Defender, Legend of Korra, Dota Dragon's Blood. I can go on and on. We'll develop a short called Journey to the Dark Head. Aardman, which is the one that's making a lot of news. Wallace and Gromit's Aardman.
Yeah, this
we'll
is
develop.
wild.
Yeah, we'll develop a short called I Am Your Mother. Can you imagine
Animation
Aardman?
Star Wars. It's gonna be weird.
Yeah. We got a Ghibli, so anything's possible these days.
That Ghibli short's not very good. I was disappointed in that one.
Yeah.
Triggerfish, studio behind the upcoming. This show's not out yet, but it's the Kizata Moto Generation Fire Disney Plus show. That's the I think the term's Afrofuturism show.
Mm-hmm.
That Disney partnered with the studio to develop. They're developing a short called Aowu's Song. AAU. Aowu's Song, I think.
Okay.
Dart Stachio, which is a studio based in Japan who primarily does 2D traditional anime. I didn't recognize what they've done. Can develop a short called The Pit. Studio La Cachette, which is the studio behind Primal, HBO Max's Primal by Gendy Tartakovsky. Will develop a short called The Spy Dancer. 88 Pictures, the studio behind Troll Hunters. Love them. We'll develop a short called The Bandits of Golak. And then El Gueri Studios, which is a studio based in Madrid, will develop one just simply titled Sif. Some good animation studios developing these shorts, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, the Studio Mir has me excited, obviously. Aardman, super interested what that could be.
Yeah, especially with a title called I Am Your Mother.
Yeah. Wallace and Gromit in this one, you think? Wallace with the lightsaber?
Maybe a cameo. Maybe just like a blink and you miss it cameo.
No,
I
don't think that their designs. I don't think their designs would not stand out. You might be able to get away with the penguin.
They'll be like an alien version.
Oh, I remember the penguin.
What's interesting about this is I wonder how much of Aardman specifically has a very distinct style than some of these other studios. I wonder how much of that style will carry over into the Star Wars short, because This is
mouths.
the long mouse. Like this is very unique. This is, I mean, rightfully, I think this one's getting the most attention because this is the most unique one of the bunch. This is a really interesting choice, and I think people would expect to see the Aardman style as a Star Wars short.
Yeah, I don't think you get these guys and then not let them do what they're known to do.
Yeah, it's just like getting Imaishi and Trigger and having them do what they do.
Yeah. Visions has been very good about letting people do what they want. I haven't seen all of it, but the few that I've seen, I'm like, yeah, these are all distinct and, represent their studios very well. So like, I'm not, this is exciting. This will make me catch up because I know they're not very long anyway.
Yeah. And this goes back to what they announced originally, that when they announced Vision Season 2, that it will be studios from around the world and not just from Japan, like Season 1 was. So that's really cool. Wonder Man has some directing news. The upcoming Disney Plus series, as yet announced by Marvel, but still. James Ponsoldt, Ponsoldt, who directed the director of Spectacular Now and the Apple TV Plus series Shrinking with Harrison Ford and Jason Segel, is in talks to direct.
Okay.
Love it. That's just announce that show.
Yeah, seriously.
If we know the entire cast by now, like, let's just go on.
Hit Monkey, speaking of Marvel.
What's still going on?
Apparently it was renewed for a second season, and to the shock of everyone.
I don't know a single person who watched that show, even on Twitter. Even the one guy who's like, I love Hit Monkey. Like, I don't know. He didn't even watch it.
But it's been renewed for a second season. Remember, this was the Offenders lineup, which had MODOK, and that got canceled.
Yeah, and Howard the Duck and stuff that didn't even come out and stuff. Yeah, like MODOK people liked, and that didn't even get a second season.
Yeah,
this is really weird that this one is the one coming through.
Not only has Hit Monkey been renewed for a second season, but it's not going to be branded Marvel. It's not going to have the Marvel logo attached to it.
I don't blame them for that.
Yeah.
It's just like, you know what? You can have it.
Yeah. That's, I mean, again, it's not, Hit Monkey is not a character. Also, I'm pretty sure it was like an imprint thing that got bought into Marvel, like a lot of the DC stuff that have him to it. Because like Hit Monkey was its own thing, I believe. And then he's not showing up in any books in Marvel right now, I'll say. So like it's separating it from Marvel, like makes sense.
It's not like the MCU will use Hit Monkey.
Yeah. They could, but they're cowards.
But yeah, you know what? Good for them. I never want to see it's really tough seeing a show get canceled because all those people lose their jobs, and it's really cool that these animators get to keep their job.
Yeah, it's true.
Some comic book news as far as Marvel is concerned, because the Fall of X is coming, and Marvel has announced 4 one-shots that will be titled Before the Fall of X. These are going to launch in May, so May and June, respectively, and will lead into.
They couldn't wait until after the event was done. That's all I'm saying. They couldn't wait until the event was done because this spoils a couple key things about character stuff, which made a lot of people mad, but I understand how solicits work. You have to put them out. But if you're reading Sins of Sinister, you know who's alive and who's dead and all that stuff if you read some of these solicits, which is totally fine because I'm not caught up. So I don't know, but people are mad. But continue. I'm excited anyway.
I'll just name the creative teams then.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
So the Sinister Four, written by Kieran Gillen with art by Paco Medina. Mutant First Strike, written by Steve Orlando with art by Valentina Pinti. The Heralds of Apocalypse, written by Al Ewing and Luca Pizzari.
You can actually read this one. This one's fine.
Will document the return of En Sabanur's dynasty.
Yeah. So Apocalypse, he's been gone since X of Swords 2 years ago. And everyone's been patiently waiting for the big blue dad to come back. So either he shows up at the end of Sins of Sinister, or this is how he comes back in his own event. Like, it's exciting regardless, because we've been really missing that guy. He needs to come back and put Sinister in there.
I do really miss that guy.
Yeah.
Sons of X will be the final one with Cy Spurrier and Phil Noto on art.
Oh, Phil Noto. That's more Legion stuff, I believe.
Yeah, it's carrying off from not Way of X. No, Legion of X. Way of X was the first one, then Legion of X, now Sons of X.
I love that. Obviously, I wish we can. I just wish ongoings could. You know, we're never going to get another 75 issue ongoing ever again in the history of our lives. I don't think at Marvel and DC at least. Like, you know, before like a #1 relaunch / legacy thing. But Spirier has been getting miniseries after miniseries, which is really great because that means that those books have been selling enough, but they're not willing to commit to an ongoing.
Yeah.
But this is his third miniseries he's going to be able to write. I'm like, good, as long as he's still getting the work, because people are buying those books, and that's great.
So yeah, the Fall of X is coming, guys.
And spoiler alert, it is called the Fall of X. I don't think it's the quote unquote actual end of the Krakoa era, because this is making way too much money for them to do that.
Yeah.
No, some people
Fox.
said like we're entering the second act.
Yeah, the Empire Strikes Back era where things start to tumble.
Yeah. This is pretty funny though, Fox.
Yeah.
Criminal. Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips' Criminal comic book series a deal is being finalized with Amazon Studios to develop adaptations based on this series.
I love it. And I'm sure Ed Brubaker stuff has been shopped around to every place on the planet. And I know because after the big deal he got with Winter Soldier with Marvel, he's like, never again. And he's in that movie as a cameo, and he still got dicked over. So I bet this deal with Amazon put some serious money in his and Sean Phillips' bank. And Amazon does great adaptations. Like they've done The Boys, and now they're doing Lord of the Rings, they're doing God of War. So like this is great. Like Amazon, there are worse places I'd want this show to be at. So that's cool. Crime dramas for life, baby.
DC Studios. This is going to be the bulk of our news section, because true to James Gunn's word, he came out on the 31st of January and revealed the beginning of his new slate of DC projects, beginning with Chapter 1, Gods and Monsters. But before we get to that, there's some things that was mentioned about some of the stuff that's already going on. And I want to get out of the way first.
I know real quick that Gods and Monsters belongs to DC to an extent, but I think it's really funny that they took the log line from the Dark Universe and made it the title of Chapter 1.
Oh, yeah. That's funny. What was the Dark Universe? Pennyworth, the origins of Batman's butler. Cancelled. So, Gotham Knights.
Oh no.
Right. Oh no, the show we weren't watching. Gotham Knights. No comment on Gotham Knights. I just want to put that in there because that was specifically a news article of just he had no comment on Gotham Knights.
I bet you there's some weird they get their one season and it's like we can't say it's canceled yet, but that show gets one season. Yeah. That's what I'm feeling.
He did talk about Superman and Lois only briefly to mention that it's probably only got 1 or 2 more seasons left. So that's kind of cool that they're willing to give it probably 5 seasons at most.
I'll take it.
Not bad.
Supergirl's run.
Yeah. That's Supergirl. They got 8.
Supergirl?
Yeah. Did I get
8 seasons?
Why do I think it got 8 seasons? Whatever. Doesn't matter. It's not on the air anymore. Shazam! Fury of the Gods, The Flash, Aquaman: Lost Kingdom, and Blue Beetle all were name dropped in his video, where he talked about how they kind of lead into this first chapter, specifically The Flash, which has been specifically designed to reboot the universe, and they're just going to use that to continue doing what it was meant to do. Just instead of whatever Hamada was planning to do, it's now what James Gunn is planning to do.
Right.
Reshoots.
Although he said in an interview that they didn't do anything in the edit to change it. They just left it. But we know there's been a lot of reshoots on that movie even recently. So
yeah, but maybe those weren't his decisions.
Yeah, possibly, yeah.
Because that stuff was happening. We knew that stuff was happening before we heard about them coming in.
Yeah. Just some real quick notes on these films. Shazam! Fury of the Gods, they only really said that the door is open for Zachary Levi to return, as well as Jason Momoa and Ezra Miller, should Ezra Miller finish their recovery. And there apparently is if they want to continue forward, they're willing to talk about it, but they didn't make any sort of commitment of whether or not he will continue to be the Flash. They will continue to be the Flash, sorry.
And Blue Beetle.
Yes, they did mention Blue Beetle. Real quickly, so the door is open. The Flash is the greatest superhero movie that James Gunn has ever seen. It's just a fun quote.
I know I heard that quote. I rewinded to make sure I heard it right. I don't know, James.
Listen, here's the thing, y'all. This is not the first time we've heard it's a good movie. I am not.
Yeah.
I am not shocked if we get a great superhero movie. It's just unfortunate that Ezra Miller is the star of it.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
the rub. That's the rub. That's a bummer because like I really want to see a really good Flash movie.
Me too.
Me too.
And you know what? If this is a really good Flash movie, I'll be happy about it.
Me
Yeah.
too.
Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom had a couple of notes real quickly. Peter Safran specifically said that Aquaman 3 is happening. Apparently, Jason Momoa has always envisioned it as a trilogy. And that James Gunn mentioned on a separate interview with DC that Jason Momoa is not playing Lobo. He will not play two characters. He will only play Aquaman.
Okay.
I personally, I was ready for the chaos of like we see Aquaman and then a year later he's fighting Superman as Lobo, and that's just the world we live in. I'm like, it's a shame. I was kind of hoping for it.
That's a Hamada kind of decision.
Hey,
not
that's
James
still
Gunn, Peter Safran
That's still
decision.
a fun decision. I would have loved to see.
Sure.
Okay. Now we'll talk about Chapter 1, Gods and Monsters.
I think just real quick on the note, they did. I don't know if you had more about it, but just on the Ezra Miller note that they're going to have more conversations with Ezra Miller through their recovery. It's not while the door is open, that door can also be shut.
Yes.
If some things like there's still more not so great stuff coming out about Ezra Miller, so I can see them closing this door after the Flash movie passes.
Yeah, and James Gunn was asked about Zachary Levi's recent tweets, and he talked about like if I stopped working with everyone who I disagreed with, I would have very little to work with. So Zachary Levi has an open door there as well.
Mm-hmm.
He mentioned on a question that that the Flash won't reset everything. We were kind of thinking that that there's a possibility of a clean slate happening over at DC, but that is not the case. They are going to piecemeal what has happened before, such as Aquaman and Viola Davis specifically.
They're doing a new 52.
Yeah.
Interestingly, we have no clarification still on the Black Canary film and Misha Green.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully all good, but we don't know.
Yeah. Because I don't think that movie's shooting. I feel like we would know if it's shooting.
No, it's not shooting, and he did name check Birds of Prey and Shazam in the same sentence, which I was kind of disappointed with because he talked about how like no one was minding the mint on DC. They were just giving projects to whoever, and it was really hurting the brand. So that's why we got things like Black Adam and Birds of Prey. And I was like, Birds of Prey is a better movie than Black Adam.
It's very, very true.
So Superman Legacy was a movie that we already knew was happening. We didn't know the title. Now we do. It's Superman Legacy. This is the James Gunn Superman film that he did a clarification that Henry Cavill was never fired. He was just never cast.
Right.
Which I think Sparks mentioned was the most likely possibility.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he got dicked over by the people before James Gunn.
Yeah.
Which he said in the interview, like, yeah, he got screwed over by not me. It wasn't me who did this to him.
Right.
Sorry, we're still friends.
So we're not going in release order. We're doing this whatever.
No, I forgot to put it in a release order after I was done with it.
It's fine.
I
just wanted to
apologize for
clarify.
that.
Because I'm totally fine not doing a release order. Watching it in release order, I know, let's say there's 1 million people, 999,000 people went, what? With the first announcement. 100%.
Creature Commandos.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's my second one. I think I wanted to start with Superman Legacy because we knew that was happening.
Sure.
Yeah.
So really quickly on Superman Legacy, it's got a release date, July 11th, 2025. It's not going to be an origin story and is going to focus on Superman balancing his Kryptonian heritage with his human upbringing. Sounds cool.
It's so weird that they gave a release date for this one specifically.
Because it's the one closest to being done.
Because
his script, it's probably the one with the closest script to being done.
I guess so, but
Yeah,
like even
100%.
as like I would have just not said it yet if you're not saying some of the others that are coming before it.
But I don't think there is anything coming before it.
There is. It's Creature Commandos and Waller and
Is that coming before?
Yes.
It's Creature Commandos and
Legacy's
Waller.
Like the fourth project.
Creature Commandos and Waller are the only two coming before it, if I recall correctly. But I did notice that it looks like we're not going to get a 2024 DC film.
Mm-hmm.
So there will be a year off where it makes sense. There's 4 coming out this year. And James Gunn mentioned in an interview that he wants to do 2 movies and 2 shows a year, and that's kind of the output that they're aiming for. So it would make sense to kind of skip 2024 and get that output out there starting 2025.
Yeah, and I think that is a beautiful amount of stuff. 2 movies, 2 TV shows, you stage them, movie show, beautiful. I love it.
Yeah, he's definitely learning some lessons from what Marvel did this past couple of years.
Oh yeah.
So Creature Commandos was the first thing that he announced, which is going to be a 7-episode animated series. All episodes have been written by James Gunn. It's going to see Amanda Waller create a Black Ops team out of monstrous prisoners. The lineup includes Rick Flag Sr., Nina Mazursky, Dr. Phosphorus, Frankenstein, Eric Frankenstein, the Bride of Frankenstein, who is apparently the lead of the show, G.I. Robot, and Weasel.
We know Weasel.
The only actor in the show who is currently cast is Sean Gunn, who played Weasel in the Suicide Squad.
Yeah. So I watched this like 6-minute presentation at work, and like I didn't hear anything about it. So like when this showed up, and I saw the image of the J.M. DeMatteis 88 Frankenstein ripping a dude's head off who's a Nazi, I'm like, this is what we're starting with. This is going to alienate so many people. I'm so excited.
It already has.
I cannot tell you what this made me feel. Just pure excitement. I'm like, the first thing you're doing with your new universe is starting with what Marvel is starting to do in their universe.
Mm-hmm.
They're starting to do their monster shit. And I'm like, James is like, man, I really wish I could have done Midnight Sun shit. I'll just do it over here. Because let me tell you, nobody gives a shit about the Creature Commandos. I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean in a popularity. Like, they don't show up anymore. They are now the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Half of these characters are not from the Creature Commandos. They're from Jeff Lemire's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. run from the New 52. That's who the Fish Lady and the Bride of Frankenstein and all them. This is so exciting. And the fact that it's animated and those characters will show up in live action in some form is lovely.
Yeah.
Lovely.
So that was the other thing, is that this is an animated show. This is the only animated show that was announced during this presentation. There will be more. And the goal is for the actors who play these animated versions to play them in live action, because they will show up in live action. Oh, I said Sean Gunn was the only one cast. Viola Davis is in this because she's still Amanda Waller.
She's Waller. Yeah.
So that's kind of cool. I like that. I feel like that, again, like learning a lesson, maybe not necessarily learning a lesson from Marvel, but like doing what Marvel probably hoped they could have done with What If.
Having Rick Flag Sr. be on the team is extremely funny. I really hope they get Joel Kinnaman.
That'd be funny.
Yeah. The thing, I'm pretty sure they said it's also going to be a modern day interpretation, which is totally fine, because all those characters are like immortal and they show up in the present day. But I really hope like the first episode is a World War II episode, or we get flashbacks when they were Nazi hunters, because those first couple issues of that comic is awesome. Just Dracula's flying around, just eating fools. It's so fun. It is so fun. And like with James Gunn like writing it, like imagine Suicide Squad but with the Universal monsters. And I'm like, that is absolutely something I will watch. Right. Couldn't be more thrilled with this first one. I mean, Superman 2.
James Gunn, because James Gunn is working, he said in the presentation he's halfway through the script of Superman Legacy, because he wrote all these episodes. The Peacemaker season 2 has been delayed. It is still happening. There's a placeholder, not necessarily a placeholder, but like there's a show they decided to do in between to kind of help us along, which I'll talk about in a minute. Lanterns.
Ben's really excited about Creature Commandos, right, Ben?
I had no idea who the hell the Creature Commandos are. I just saw the Frankenstein monster. I'm like, hey, I'm playing you on Dungeons and Dragons right now, and that was it.
Oh, that's artwork from the show, by the way.
Importantly, Ben, you didn't see it and go, well, this is a wash. Which is what a bunch of people did.
I saw, man, real quickly though, just like my impressions of the presentation, like I watched this, so I was like, oh shit, I'm in.
Yeah. No, I mean, I was stoked that it was something so off the beaten path. Most of this presentation, honestly, like not what you'd expect, and we'll get into like the whys of that at the end. But I'm so
gods and monsters.
I know that Twitter and a lot of the virtual internet space is not the majority of people, but it's super disheartening to see people so quickly be like, I'm unwilling to try anything new, and I'm like, okay, well, this is why the MCU can't have nice things.
Yeah. I mean, but like, But James Gunn, like he has such a track record where like if you do like the marketing nonsense of from the minds who brought you Guardians and Peacemaker and Suicide Squad and he wrote the Scooby-Doo movies. Don't forget those too.
Peacemaker was a huge hit. Like the storytelling is good. People are going to show up. I'm like, how do you all have to be this close-minded right off the bat? Like trust that the story might be good.
Not everyone loves a Dracula like we do. Guys.
For sure.
They can't appreciate a good bloodsucker.
Also, you don't have to watch every single project in the DC universe.
They're casting a wide net. They're trying to get everybody. A little bit of everything.
Everything is apparently by the time we get to Swamp Thing, we'll know what the overarching plot of Chapter 1 is.
Sure.
Because there is one. He mentioned it like a while ago, not like a while ago, but like a couple weeks ago, that he basically did what he mapped out Guardians of the Galaxy 1, 2, and 3, and he stuck to that three movie arc. He just did that again, but on a larger scale.
Yeah.
For the DC universe. So,
but I don't think that like you are going to have a hard time watching Superman Legacy if you don't watch Creature Commandos.
Sure.
And that's another great thing about the presentation. He was like, like the comics, like they don't all look the same. They don't all feel the same. That doesn't mean they don't exist in the same world.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Like Marvel at its worst is all of these things feel the same and they look the same, but they're not supposed to. That like Marvel's, I think they've gotten away from that. That was one like
they're working on it.
They're working on it, but that was a big criticism. But like, there's no reason your gritty Batman movie and your super fun Superman movie can't exist in the same world just because they don't look the same. That's just like, you have to have a bigger imagination. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, he talked about like how Rocket Raccoon, how when Guardians of the Galaxy first came out, there were news articles being like, how is Rocket Raccoon going to tie into to Thor, and like and he liked that. It was like that's the beauty of comic books. Like that's what he wants to emulate with this new slate, with this new franchise, is the emulation of all these different tones and all these different styles, all these different mediums. And how they cross over is the fun part, because there will be crossover. There's apparently sporadic crossovers all throughout these projects, not just one major crossover at the end. So seeing how like Superman will interact with the Creature Commandos is something that could be really fun.
Yeah. You have Thor call Rocket Rabbit, and then you make $1 billion. Like
then you make $1 billion.
I firmly, James Gunn knows his comic book shit. I firmly believe that the Creature Commando stuff, like you're going to be. This is the Chapter 1 is Gods and Monsters, but it is like foundation for a lot of what the DC universe is going to be. They're doing a lot of magic stuff. They're doing like Swamp Thing stuff. They're doing creature stuff. They're doing the traditional Batman, Superman. They're showing you everything this universe will be, and then they'll expand on it. They're half of those guys from the Creature Commandos are on the Agents of Shade, and they deal with Swamp Thing, and they deal with Animal Man, and they deal with the Rot World stuff. And that is, you bet your ass, Swamp Thing will be doing some of that stuff leading into something like that. You can't introduce the Agents of Shade. Their whole thing was being in Rot World. That was why they were there. That was the introduction. So that's an exciting thing. I love it. We're gonna have a Dracula, animated Dracula. Love it.
Lanterns. This is going to be a series focused on Jon Stewart and Hal Jordan, which is supposedly in the vein of True Detective. It's going to be a terrestrial cop show where they're dealing with, what do you say? Beat Earth, Beat 2814 or something like that. So it's going to be based around them. It sounds like they've adopted and reworked that Greg Berlanti Green Lantern show. It's not the same one, but it sounds like that maybe this is what we were hearing about when that show wasn't going forward.
Sure. I'll be honest, this is the one I'm excited for because it's a new Green Lantern thing. Like it's probably actually going to happen now, James Gunn. But this is the pitch that I like the least, because when I hear Green Lantern and you tell me we're going to be on Earth and it's going to be, have you guys watched True Detective by any chance?
No, I have not.
Okay. True Detective is horrifying, and it's gritty, and it's harrowing, and it's like really, really mature, like HBO hardcore, like sacrificing children, grim. This is not what I want my Green Lantern to be. I don't want them on Earth doing sad detective work. That's the opposite of what my Green Lantern show to be, especially the first one. If that's like a plot you have to do later on, sure, but starting your show like that, like, again, anything could be good, but like that is not what I want. Not at all. We'll see who like the creative team will be, but like grim Earth-based Green Lantern is the opposite of what I want.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you, honestly. Like, this is the one where I was this is the only one where I was like, I don't know about this one. I love the idea of pairing Hal Jordan and Jon Stewart. I think that rules. But the term terrestrial kind of rubbed me the wrong way, because I would really love a Green Lantern show that was out in space doing space stuff. You know, they have an entire sector of space that they work on, not just Earth, and I think that could have been a lot of fun. Now, that's not to say there are apparently other Green Lanterns that are going to be in the show, peppered throughout. We'll probably see Chip or Gnort or even Ayla Secura. So like, not Ayla Secura, that's a Star Wars character.
I was gonna say.
It's like one of those sounds like a Star Wars character.
Oh, the girl who wears the white tank top and the skirt, the orange one with the pointy ears. I forgot.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. Oh crap!
It starts with an A though.
It does.
Anyway, but so like we'll probably see some Green Lanterns peppered throughout. But like I want to see Mogo. I'm not going to see Mogo in this show.
At least not season 1. It feels like real quick. It feels like for their first season, because if this is going to be a TV show that has multiple seasons, the first season's got to be a lower budget to get the audience in. What it feels like. You start small. You can do enough special effects stuff with the rings on Earth before you go big. And I'm sure there'll be one episode where it is big space stuff, but obviously if it's a terrestrial show, it's not the whole show. So that's my hope, that like we have to start small before we go big. But like, you know, I kind of just wish we start big.
I think that's absolutely what it is. I think that you have to, like, I think they're trying to find a way to ground an audience into liking Green Lantern, a general audience, a general film television audience into liking Green Lantern without doing an origin story. And I think this is fine. I think that the intention with this is to not even necessarily have bigger seasons, but a bigger film past related to Green Lantern stuff, doing stuff in space past what this show does. I think this is supposed to be like an ease you into Green Lantern, and maybe we don't need that, but I think it's a smart move for a general audience.
Sure. Yeah.
And it's Aricia.
Aricia, thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Real quick, can we pull up MJ's comment?
Yes.
There.
Ben, if you want to do it, please.
Already done.
So since we're telling Elseworld stories, can we have that 2 Snyder Justice League movies animated, if not live action? Yeah. I mean, yes, absolutely. I think they could. I don't think they will.
I don't think they will, but like, I would love to see that. Sure. Yeah.
I think it would be fine. I think doing it animated would help to reduce the budget, but I think you're still talking about, if you want all those actors back doing the voices, it's going to be a lot of money. I don't know that for some of them, it's kind of a bitter point. I don't know that they want to come back. I don't even know if Snyder himself wants to come back at this point.
He's making a Star Wars movie right now.
I think in some ways, while the fans might want it, I don't know. This is speculation completely, but like to Snyder, I think this would be like a lesser version of what he intended, and like a consolation prize that I don't think he feels like he needs.
Yeah.
I understand fans feel that way, but I don't think from how he's talked about it, he does. I don't think he'd want to come back and do anything less than the version he wanted to do.
Yeah.
And while animation would allow you to do a lot more, it's also, and not to say like my favorite thing Snyder's done is an animation, which is how he edited the Owl movie. It looks, how he directed it, it looks great. You could do a lot more in animation, but it's not his intention. So
yeah,
I think this is just not going to happen.
His time has passed.
I mean, he's having a great time over at Netflix. I mean, he got to do a Star Wars movie. He's got there's an anime for his Army of the Dead show coming. He's got his Star Wars, his Rebel Moon is doing a bunch of spin-offs and things.
He's got free reign over there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so Lanterns TV series, I'm happy to see Jon Stewart and Hal Jordan back. And at any rate, like it is.
I'm happy to see Jon Stewart in live action. That's all that really matters to me.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Paradise Lost, a new series set on Themyscira, but in the past, so prior to the Wonder Woman films. It is set years in the past, before Diana was even born. It's gonna be a TV drama which focuses on the genesis and political intrigue of an island of all women, which is apparently in the vein of Game of Thrones.
Yeah. Is it prior to the Wonder Woman films, or is it in the history of this new version of Themyscira that happens after Flashpoint? Because those are two different things.
The answer is yes.
Well, Gal Gadot has an open door to return.
That doesn't mean that her movies are still canon.
Yeah, that's true.
Elseworld. This there's not enough information. This is the one that has like the least to go off of because it's.
I think we're gonna see a lot of like the recent Amazon stuff.
I hope so.
Come in.
Yeah, like it would be. It's Game of Thrones is very cool, and like having a DC version of that, like with nothing but Amazons, is a really cool idea. I need to know why they chose to do this for a reason. How this ties to the bigger DC universe is what I'm curious about, because their whole thing is like they're on their own for a long time.
Right.
So like, why do we need the insight from 1,000 years ago? What does that do for the future? And obviously, there's a story there. I just don't know what it is yet. So
it feels like so you can get those other Amazons, like the newer, more progressive representational ones that we've seen it be brought in through the comics, like a way to build a bridge to that trajectory where Wonder Woman's not the only person we're going to follow from that island.
Soft relaunch of Wonder Woman.
That being said, I do find it because you said it verbatim. I do find it really weird that James Gunn used so many HBO shows as the representational references for what they're doing with it. Like, it didn't feel like something I would expect him to do, that they all had to be HBO shows, like True Detective, Game of Thrones.
I mean, staying on brand.
As the reference points, I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Real quickly, I meant to say about lanterns. Apparently, the mystery that they're solving feeds into the overarching storyline of Chapter 1. So that's interesting. Yeah. All right. So Paradise Lost. A Booster Gold live-action series is in development.
Bless.
Thank goodness we've been hearing about a Booster Gold movie, Blue and Gold show for God knows how long, and finally we may be getting one in the form of a series, which apparently the overarching theme of that show will be dealing with superhero imposter syndrome, which is kind of fun to think about.
Yes.
I mean, he's God. It's this will make me, in the encroaching time that this comes out, I'll be like, wait, there's a Booster Gold I haven't seen, and it's Donald Faison. So this will get me to watch that. But for those of you in the audience who don't know, Booster Gold is a man from the future who goes back in time to try to become famous. So he's famous in the future, and he's bumbling, but he's got a heart of gold. He's got Skeets, his little robot. He's so fun.
We're gonna see Skeets in live action.
Yeah. It was a new 52 Jeff Johns run. I read like one and a half issues of it earlier in the week. It's great. Like, Booster is such a fun character, and like I'm in like him wanting to join the Justice League, and then like they accept him, and then he blows them off, and I'm just like, I don't need you guys because I'm actually too famous already. I'm like, it's really great. Like I'm so excited that Booster is like in phase 1. Like he's a core thing that they're starting with. It's just really, really fun. And again, like, they're showing the future of what the DC universe will look like. So like they're building blocks for the entire universe from beginning and ends and stuff. It's cool.
I mean, you've already got your Blue Beetle.
Yep, right there. I'm so excited.
Love it.
Yeah, this floored me. I'm so stoked for a Booster Gold series. I've wanted this for so long.
Yeah.
Speaking of things I've wanted for so long, The Brave and the Bold. It is not titled Batman. It is just titled The Brave and the Bold as of now, which will introduce the new Batman of this universe. So whoever's playing Batman for this new franchise will be introduced in The Brave and the Bold, as well as introducing Robin in the form of Damian Wayne, my favorite Robin.
Yes, I'm staring at my Batman omnibus right over there. It's too heavy and Swamp Thing's in front of him, so I won't get it. Morrison's Batman is the seminal modern run. He wrote it. They wrote it for so many years. It transitioned into Batman and Robin, which is my favorite Batman book. Back when Dick Grayson is Batman, but calling it Brave and the Bold, without telling us anything, says a lot about like the vibe they're gonna go for. And the fact that we're starting with a Bat family is like I've enjoyed a lot of the Batman movies that have come out. There's not been a single Batman movie that I felt this is the truest Batman. Even the Batman from last year, I love. It's not the comic book Batman. Having a Robin, having Dick and Tim and all those people, like having it established, having him be a dad is so exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Just throwing you into a Bat family, because like even like the regular world, they play the Arkham games, they know all these characters. Like in the general audience, like they know Dick Grayson. So like starting this way, it's also really interesting that you're going to start with a young Superman and an older Batman, but that's not a super big deal because Superman doesn't really age, so he can age and it'll be fine. It's so exciting. And again, starting with Damien is really bold. Starting with his assassin son, that means you have to do Talia stuff immediately. You have to do Rachel Gould. You have to set that stuff up. It's awesome. It feels like a comic book come to life just hearing it.
So two things real quickly. It, as Ryan said, it is based on Grant Morrison's seminal run, my favorite Batman run. Ben, if you want to pull up Grayson's comment, that feeds into what Peter Safran said. So he says, "I'm hoping there is still a Dick Grayson, even if they make reference to him. I am excited to see a Batman and Robin duo." Yes. So Peter Safran clarified this because this was not made present. This was not made clear on the presentation. This is going to feature other members of the extended Bat family, just because we feel like they've been left out of the Batman stories in the cinemas for far too long.
Good.
And the thing, them starting with Damien, that does not mean they're erasing the other Robins.
No.
That's just, to me, that just confirms that they existed, and we will see them in the future.
Yeah, because, I mean, Dick Grayson could possibly show up as a character or a reference. Same with Jason Todd. Same with Barbara Gordon as Batgirl. The fact that we were finally getting the Bat family, because we haven't had any Bat family movies. I don't even really want to call it a Bat family movie since Batman and Robin, but the Schumacher film. But ever since, we've got nothing. It's just been Batman, early Batman, year whatever Batman, or Batman without a Robin in case of the Ben Affleck film, the Ben Affleck BVS
It's just the
film.
animated stuff that we've
Just the animated stuff. It's like I feel like it's been a long time, and the Bat family has been very well established in the animated films, the comic books for God knows how many years, probably decades at this point.
It wasn't that
in the 80s.
But wasn't that long after Batman's introduction that Robin was introduced?
Yeah, exactly.
Like it really, the time period between the two wasn't that long.
I don't know if Warner Brothers is just so afraid of putting a Robin in because they're so scared of another Batman and Robin scenario. I mean, Batman Forever is pretty decent. It's an okay movie.
Just think about it for a second. There's a crazy man dressed as a bat, and he has a 12-year-old companion wearing short shorts, beating up criminals at midnight. It's not as easy to transfer having a child beat up people on the street. It's not as easy to do, and it's not as people aren't willing. You got to be really on top of that to make it seem okay. You got to tell the right story. It's got to be a comic book vibe. It can't be the Batman with a 12-year-old beating criminals up. You know what I mean? Like, no, it can't be that vibe.
You got to have your Robin be, like a late 20s, early 30s cop. A Joseph Gordon-Levitt type, if you will.
Oh God,
John Robin,
and that's the Robin they'll accept.
So the I think also, Ben, there's I've noticed this a lot. I'm sure I've talked about it on the show that Warner Brothers scars run deep from their cinematic failures. The Schumacher films were not well received, and since then I think. Look, the guard has changed at Warner Brothers for so long, so maybe I'm completely off base. But like, there was also a reason why Catwoman was the last female superhero film we got until Wonder Woman. Like, because like they see this failure and they're like, okay, well, never again. Nobody wants to see this ever. But it's been 40 years since then. Not really. It hasn't been that long. I'm not that old. But like close to, and like the idea of like we're finally going to get these, and the fact that what Peter Safran said, and the fact that Gunn is such a big fan of Morrison's Batman run, like everyone's on the table. We could get Steph and Cass. We're definitely getting Dick Grayson and Tim Drake 100%. I don't think there's a world this movie is made without them, honestly. But like the fact that we could get Jason Todd and again we could get a Stephanie Brown is so exciting.
We can get animated Bat Family projects and live action Bat Family projects that all connect to the same Batman, because they can make live action shows and animated shows that are also tying into the films, and they can have their own movies.
The fun thing about having the universe where it is, all that stuff happened. So like if you have Batgirl, have her be Oracle. If you have Dick Grayson, have him be Nightwing, and then you see, we'll do a flashback when he was Robin. Like all this stuff can be established, and then the next movie you'll get a Nightwing movie or Nightwing TV show. You get the Batgirls TV show. Like starting with a Bat Family movie is like a foundation to spread the rest of the Bat Family out. Yeah. It's so smart. It's so smart, and I'm just God. I cannot wait to see who the villain is. Whoever they pick. If it's just like the Demon, if it's just Rachel Gould again, like him and Talia. Done really well. I'll be here for it.
You can do a very different version of them from Nolan and have some
not white. Yes.
That's not
Have them
all that I meant.
No,
but
I know. I just have them be actually Middle Eastern and have Damien be Middle Eastern, like the comics are finally starting to do. That would be really great. Also,
trying to think of a good villain that we haven't, like a really good Batman villain who hasn't had time to shine.
Black Mask. No, we got a pretty good Black Mask in Birds of Prey.
We got a Black Mask.
Not according
Harley
to-
Quinn beat his ass.
Not according to James Gunn.
True, good point.
Bring back Ewan McGregor as Black Mask. He could be alive now.
That's true.
I think if you do something, if you do like the League of Assassins, like I know it's like retread, but like doing it like quote unquote like right as opposed to like Dark Knight Rises version, like have it be that,
Doing
and then
it for
having
the
them
comic.
like hire assassins, like in Arkham Origins, hire a couple assassins, have a Lady Shiva, a Deathstroke, or whatever, have a fight scene or whatever.
Or just make it Dr. Hugo Strange with Dave Bautista.
He loves little glasses. I love little glasses.
Actually, like, quite frankly, like the League of Assassins would be a really good movie, especially if you're introducing Damien, because he's Talia's son.
Yeah. And you need like all that history. God, you could do so much and it's so great the stuff with like Batman, like Ra's wanting him to the stuff they did in Arrow. I want that, but on the big screen. Like I wanted you to be my heir. You sired my grandchild. You are the legacy of the demon. But Batman's like, no, I have honor.
The fact that Grant Morrison's Batman run is going to be adapted into a movie is so cool.
I'm so thrilled. I'm so thrilled. Oh yeah, Condiment King.
Condiment King.
Condiment.
So Grayson saying using Condiment King as a red herring would be hilarious. I wouldn't mind seeing Hush though. Hush has been pretty good.
I'm waiting.
Okay,
I'm waiting for a good Hush. I think Hush.
Side note: one of my favorite jokes in Lego Batman movie is when Zach Galifianakis' Joker mentions Condiment King, and it goes, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah, Google it. He's real."
He could be the opening like in media res action scene where like you see Damien kicking the shit out of a condiment man.
The joke I believe is that he lists off a bunch of Z tier Batman villains, and then the pilot's like, "You made some of those up." It's like, no, Google it.
I love that joke. That's actually a really good movie too. I'd like that movie a lot.
Swamp Thing. It's getting a big budget horror movie.
Bookshelf.
The one time where I am stupid excited for a horror movie, it's the mother effing Swamp Thing. Because I remember
you watched Swamp Thing with us, right? It's been so
I love that show.
I just don't remember. It's been again over 3 years.
I watched Swamp. I remember reading Scott Snyder's Swamp Thing for the New 52. I was hounding Brandon to loan me those books. I freaking loved that book. I was like, and now that we're actually getting a Swamp Thing movie, I am super excited and happy. Swamp Thing he is getting the love he deserves.
Look at this big ass boy. I got this at Comic-Con.
I love how the wings look with your green screen.
That's very cool. Oh, and his little buckle shield from Injustice. Yeah. You guys go first about Swamp Thing.
Yeah, I think this is fantastic. James Mangold is in talks to direct this. He is not signed on, but it sounds like he's interested. That'd be pretty cool.
I only don't believe it because it was announced so quick to when this was announced.
Yeah.
That's the only reason. Because like it happened like hours after. I'm like, I don't believe you, but dude makes good movies. Who am I to say no?
Right.
Yeah, dude, Swamp Thing. He is my favorite DC character. Things I love, I get tattooed on me, and Swamp Thing is one of those things.
I'm so pleased that they're moving forward with this so soon without looking at like it's another clear sign of like how this is really in Gunn and Safran's control, because nobody's saying like, well, the Swamp Thing show didn't do what we wanted or blah blah blah.
Yeah,
we just did that and we didn't really like what we did with it, even though it was great. It's we're getting a movie. They have faith.
I on Twitter, I'm friends with #1 Swamp Thing stan, and we were having a conversation of like, after that show got canceled, legitimately, I didn't think we would see Swamp Thing for 10 years, like in any cameo.
It's usually the cycle.
That's the cycle, yeah. Like, we use this seedless character, let's move on. James Gunn knows the power of Swamp Thing and how cool and vital he can be, and like when you lean into the mystical elemental stuff about Swamp Thing, he can be in any story. And again, like I firmly believe that like Swamp Thing will not be like pivotal to the DC universe, but him starting phase 1 with Swamp Thing, the rot stuff will happen. There will be a big rot thing, whether it's animated or a big live action crossover. Like I believe it.
Was Swamp Thing being introduced into this in this chapter? Do you think the next chapter we'll see Animal Man?
Here's the thing, Ben. This chapter is not done. This is not everything from this chapter. He was very clear. Like, this is the beginning of this chapter.
These are all the things we'll see in the next couple of years.
I think Animal Man is in this chapter.
I wouldn't be shocked. Animal Man, I wouldn't be surprised if that turns out to be like an animated thing, because Animal Man is grotesque in a way that Swamp Thing you can get away with plants and stuff. It's a little more, Animal Man's pure body horror.
I will say to a point also about this that I think is valuable. Even with the Lanterns comparison or anything like that, a lot of people are saying, who are upset with the regime change, just don't like change. One of the things that those folks have all stood behind is, Snyder brought maturity to the DC Comics characters. They're real for adult superhero movies, not like the Marvel ones. And whether I agree with that stance or not, if that's what they were demanding, this Slate shows that maturity is on the table. Like, you are going to have mature, and Peacemaker will still be part of this. Peacemaker's world will still be part of that. That is mature. You're still going to have that and have things that are for the family. That's all going to exist in tandem. That is going to be a standout difference from Marvel stuff, because you are going to have things that are going to be scary. They're going to be disturbing.
Yeah.
As they should be.
And if you do, I don't think you'll start Swamp Thing with like a Rot World thing, because you have to do like a lot of like foundation stuff with the Parliament and all that stuff, and like Alec Holland becoming Swamp Thing and all that stuff. But I can definitely see them setting up.
This is described as an origin story. For him.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. That's fine. I could totally see, like, again, like, Ben, you watched the show, so like there was a bunch of characters like Phantom Stranger showed up, and like I can imagine like Etchkin the Demon showing up like in a bigger budget thing. Who was it? The Blue Devil.
Blue Devil.
What was that, Brandon? What'd you say?
Etrigan. It's so exciting.
Yeah, yeah, he's a rhymer. I love it. Yes. Again, like starting your first phase instead of like, we're just gonna redo a Wonder Woman and we're gonna redo Aquaman. Just like start with the Justice League again. Like, we're starting with the weird shit. And like the characters not everyone knows. Yeah, you got your Batman, Superman, but like Booster Gold is like a fan favorite character. Not everyone knows who Booster Gold is. Starting with a ancient Wonder Woman show where you might not recognize any of the characters is a big risk. But that's just like, that's awesome. Again, like this whole lineup of all these things are just like so exciting.
And we're not done. Waller was announced. This is going to star Viola Davis as Waller.
This is the thing immediately after Creature Commandos.
Yes. This will feature Waller teaming up with members of Team Peacemaker, and is written by Crystal Henry, who is a writer on Watchmen, and Jeremy Carver, who developed the Doom Patrol TV series for HBO Max.
And we should be specific, the HBO Watchmen show, not the movie Watchmen.
The HBO Watchmen show, yes.
The greatest comic book show ever made.
Pretty good.
Oh my God, this lineup?
Yeah.
Wow. Waller.
I'm really excited about this, both because of that creative team that you just mentioned, but also because like Viola Davis deserves this. I think at this point with what she's been given with Waller, I think we deserve a movie that's dedicated to her. Frankly, she's getting the treatment I wish they had given Sam Jackson's Nick Fury at some point in the MCU, is that he should have gotten one project that was actually about him.
Secret Invasion 10 years later.
So, but having this project about her and putting her at the center, but using the Peacemaker Foundation, super smart. And a super good way to bridge from stuff we've had to Peacemaker Season 2, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. And if it's focusing on Waller, you gotta imagine it's gonna be real grim.
I'm even more passionately big on Viola Davis after watching The Woman King. So like I want to see so much more with her.
Real quickly, just want to congratulate Viola Davis on her EGOT. She did it. She EGOTted.
She's got them all. Some people want it all.
So yeah, I love this idea. This is going to slot between Peacemaker season 1 and 2, kind of leading into what they're doing with that. Much in the same way that Penguin series, which they didn't talk about specifically, but the idea for the Penguin series is to lead into the Batman 2 Part 2. Sorry,
that thing's like filming. That thing's real.
I know. We're getting a Penguin show. Cool. Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. Will be so this one is really interesting because this is the first one where they specifically said it is based on this one book. This is going to be based on Tom King and Bilquis Evely's series, miniseries, 8 issues, I believe.
Yep.
Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow.
Yeah, so it's not confirmed 100%, but Tom King is also now a part of the DC writing staff. He's basically, they've created like a Marvel, like what used to be with the MCU, they had like the Marvel committee of like Bendis and a bunch of other people. But like Tom King is an active, because he was writing New Gods with Ava DuVernay, which is no longer happening. But they're keeping him around, and sure enough, he's probably going to write the script for this movie, which would be insane. Y'all haven't read Supergirl. It is about Kara turning 21 and her going to have like, she wants to go drink alone on a planet, and then she gets caught up in a basically like Seven Samurai like fantasy adventure. It is one of the most beautiful books I've ever read in my entire life. Truly, like Bilquis Everly, who did Sandman Theater. Just beautiful stuff, and like she basically turns into the Phoenix in this comic, and like she gets new powers, and like there's a lot of red kryptonite and like red sun stuff, so she's depowered a lot. She just has to like be herself. She's more like Thor. She's more like a drunken Thor. It is a departure for Supergirl, but in the Tom King way, where he kind of changes characters to write a good story. It's incredible, and the fact that this is again one of the first things they're putting out is this cosmic Supergirl adventure where she helps this rural village and this little girl, like. Unbelievable. This movie is going to be expensive as shit if this is the story they're telling. It's really exciting. This book is incredible. And Tom King, I was so sad when New Gods wasn't happening, but he's back. Love it.
So Supergirl One of Tomorrow, they mentioned is based on the comic book, obviously, because that was one of James Gunn's favorite comics. He apparently fell in love with it, like most people did who read it, and felt like adapting it, which is really cool because like what we're seeing, and I've got a quote from him about comic books, but what we're seeing is that this is a man who was currently reading comic books. He's read comic books his whole life. He is currently keeping up with them, and he is now in the power. He's now has the power that, comic book fans have been dying for. Hey, I just read this book. Ring, ring. Let's make this movie.
I don't know if there's been a quicker turnaround of a comic coming out to being in a movie. This comic came out last year.
Right.
This came out last year, and there's going to be a movie in potentially 3 years. That's how powerful that book is. Mm-hmm. And also shows like how many, like Supergirl has not had that many incredible stories over the last decade, which is a big bummer.
This would be her first movie since the one in the 80s.
Yeah. Supergirl. Love it.
Cool. The Authority are getting adapted into a
This is the weirdest one. This is the weirdest one out of all of them.
Yeah, I was really surprised about this one. Mostly because, like, honestly, Hamada would never.
No,
but seriously,
like,
Boys
on TV.
So The Authority is going to be a movie based on the Wildstorm heroes, The Authority, and that's really all we know about it. They did show us the cover of one of the I think the Warren Ellis issue, which could hint to what characters will be in the movie, but we don't know any specifics on it yet.
Well, the Authority has generally had the same team in all of its runs, so it's probably going to be like the same characters, and like the most famous of them are Apollo and Midnighter. Yeah. They've transitioned more into the DC universe as opposed to the other characters. Even though they're all in the DC universe, they are the most popular ones. The thing about the Authority is it's what The Boys is making fun of. So the Authority it was a groundbreaking comic when it came out. It was one of the first like rated R superheroes taking charge. Like the whole thing is like superheroes like doing it by any means necessary, saving the world by any means necessary. Apollo and Midnighter are a gay couple, Superman and Batman parallel, but they're insane. Midnighter specifically is true chaos. He loves violence, and he has a supercomputer in his brain, so he has like Sherlock moves where he can tell what you're going to do 3 steps ahead. He's insane, and I'm pretty sure he is the reason this movie got greenlit, because he is the most interesting character of all those characters. James Gunn has an idea for what to do with the Authority. We're getting the Authority before the Justice League is formed, and I think that's on purpose. I think a lot of people are speculating that the Authority is going to take the place of what the Elite are in the DC universe, where they are the rough and tumble, rude Justice League, and they might be around before the Justice League is formed. So Superman or Batman meet them and realize they are bad examples of how to be superheroes. They are good people, but they do bad things, like the Boys. So this might be like the morality check of the DC universe, where this new DC universe is going to be like what we want, with Superman being bright and humble. But this will be like, hey, these are the bad guys of this universe who do things by any means necessary. They will be the Squadron Supreme, if you will. They will be the anti-heroes of this universe. That's the best way to put it. They're the anti-heroes. Again, the weirdest choice. They pilot a interdimensional cruise that can travel between dimensions. It's really cool.
So it's interesting that you mentioned the Elite, that they'll take the place of the Elite, because Morrison just did a Superman and the Authority book, which had members of the Elite join the Authority.
That's why people are doing that. Yeah. I didn't finish that book, but that is very much the same thing of like Superman joining with a bunch of people who takes matters in their own hands, and he has to rein them in as an old man Superman. And people just love violence, and he's just like, damn it, guys, could you please not punch people's heads off, please?
Stop liking violence.
Stop. Manchester Black, chill out, bro, please. So like, if that is the case, that's really cool. If not, it's really cool characters. There are some really, really awesome characters in this book. So at least we'll get that. I do think they will be like not the crime syndicate, but like the Justice League you don't want to have around if you can just have the Justice League. So
you mentioned, I think you mentioned the right parallel with the Squadron Supreme.
Yeah. They will kill you if you're a bad guy. Like, they have no qualms about that. And Superman doesn't like that.
I think it's also, I'm not going to say this is Gunn's intent, but I do think it is a way of, here all the people who like the Snyderverse, here is your superheroes who will kill and do this, and I'm going to put the heroes who are supposed to stand for more up against them.
Boy, howdy, let me tell you. Like, it would never happen in a million years, but you know who would be the Authority director would be Zack Snyder. And you are 100% right. I think that is the point of like, here's what the old guys used to look like. We ain't doing that shit anymore. And again, they are still heroes. So I think James Gunn will do the writing the line of, hey, they are still good guys, but maybe they should learn from Superman and stuff. Really exciting choice. Again, for your first phase of showing an entire well-rounded, different universe full of different characters.
And because they're heroes, because they're still heroes at the end of the day, it still opens up to the Justice League movie that I really want to see, which is Justice League versus the Crime Syndicate.
Yeah.
So, we'll get there.
That's an interesting context to possibly be in, where the Authority exists and then Superman shows up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, like the Wildstorm was founded in Image, and then they joined the DCU with the New 52. So like, they could do with this new universe really do whatever they want. It is, again, it's so interesting having your Batman and Superman like not be the same age. Again, I like that. It is an interesting choice.
So that's the first lineup. That's the first few projects of Phase 1 or Chapter 1, Gods and Monsters. And I think honestly, right away, it already lives up to that name of Gods and Monsters.
Yeah, like there are almost more gods and monsters than regular people. You got Dracula. You got a Dracula and a Wolfman.
It's just really cool to see this kind of breadth of characters, because we talked about it before. Like, Phase 4, we've got Moon Knight. We didn't get Moon Knight in Phase 1. We're getting the gods, Superman, Batman, Green Lantern, and the monsters, Swamp Thing, the Creature Commandos. Like, we're getting all these. Waller. No, okay.
He is a monster. Yeah. The Amazon, they're gods. Yeah.
Amazons are gods. Like, we're getting that like it was an aptly named chapter.
Obviously this is wild speculation, but people are like, okay, so they're setting up like a lot of the big players, whether it's like big Superman or Batman, or like the big like Swamp Thing stuff and Booster Gold from the future, and then everyone's like, okay, so like, then the next phase is going to be like all the regular folk. Yo, give me my Green Arrow, my Black Canary, and give me my Wildcat, and give me like all those characters. Give me the Phantom Stranger and the Question, and all the street level heroes. Like, I'm curious if it will be tonally like that kind of like Chapter 1, Chapter 2, and then it'll be a big Chapter 3. They're all together now, type of thing. It's super curious.
We have never been closer to a Question procedural TV series.
Yeah. Oh, and in this universe, James Gunn knows that's what everyone wants. So like, I firmly believe like all of the things we do want are now possible. I have this made me so excited, y'all. I read so many Marvel comics, and the thing that I love and hate about Marvel comics is that sometimes they try to tie into the MCU too much. Specifically, a couple years ago, the Guardians of the Galaxy and Iron Man were getting real screwed over because they just wanted to be the movies, right? And then a lot of that is gone. Like, we are getting now regular Tony Stark. The Guardians have been good for a couple runs now, right? I don't have to worry about that with DC. But what I'm also excited about is when Shang-Chi gets a movie, he does get a comic book when he didn't before. Like Moon Knight now has more comics than he did before. Werewolf by Night has been featured more now than he has in the past 20 years. You know what I mean? So like for these movies, that means we're also going to get more of these characters too. We will get a new Creature Commandos book. We will get all these things. And it's just because they get the publicity, and James Gunn will say, hey, buy this book, and then they'll sell it on Amazon. Because every single one of these books is now sold out on Amazon. I couldn't buy Supergirl when I wanted to.
That's so. I want to specifically talk about that. But real quickly, Sparks and Ben, you've been a little silent on this. We've been monopolizing the conversation. You guys, thoughts on this first chapter or first part of the first chapter?
I'll let Ben go first because he's been the most quiet.
So far, pretty good. I mean, I won't deny that I was very confused at first when it's like the Authority, Creature Commandos, Waller. I'm like, why? But then the more I look into it, it's like you said, gods and monsters. Here's the monsters. We got the gods. I'm glad we're seeing Jon Stewart. I don't know how I feel about a Green Lantern TV show at first, but the more I think about it, the more it works. And I'm the more I think about it, the more I'm swaying to a Green Lantern TV show would be really nice. Although I do hope that they actually get to go off Earth, because that's like one of the best things about Green Lantern is that they go off planet. They do a whole bunch of other cool stuff off the planet. Other than that, I mean, I don't want to be the Debbie Downer, but I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah,
I have been burned. And all four of us, how many Comic-Cons have we been to? Is sitting at the Warner Brothers for Hall H, and the big DC reveal is we're going to have this, we're going to do that, we're going to do all these cool things, and nothing happens of it. Yeah. I'm not saying that James Gunn will not deliver, but I am going into this with very cautious optimism, and I'm not going to say it's not going to happen, because James Gunn with him at the helm, I'm pretty sure it will happen, and I have 100% faith in James Gunn. But I'm not going to be like super hyped up and super like, oh my god, they're going to do this. I'm glad we're going to get Batman Brave and the Bold. I'm glad that we have a decent plan, but until they deliver, I will go into reserve a lot of my thoughts on this plan, because how many times so many times in the past 10, almost 15 years now, have we been, as DC saying, we are going to do X, Y, and Z, and nothing happens of it.
Yeah,
that's not true. Black Adam came out.
It's yeah.
Look, I'll bounce off that point, Ben, just to say that, like, I don't think we need to be worried about the general idea of this going forward. I'm not going to say every single one of these projects absolutely is going to make it to fruition. They might not. One or two might not. But the overall thing, it'll happen, because if this doesn't work, they've got nothing. Like, they won't be able to get an audience back in one more time for a while. They'll have to just pump the brakes entirely on DC for a while. You just won't get people to turn out because nobody's going to want to invest. But the thing about that is that James Gunn's all about storytelling first, and he's been very clear about that. Importantly, no project goes into being made until the story is written, which is a huge departure from
until
what
the script is done.
Yeah, from what they do over at Marvel Studios, where they're finishing the script up until the last moment. So that is very encouraging, because it means like good stories are going to produce good products, and we might not get every single thing he named here. We probably will, but even if we didn't, we're going to get most of it.
Also, I do believe that we will get everything announced for here, because like he didn't announce 15 things, right? Also, he didn't give release dates except for one, meaning we don't know when to expect any of these. So like he didn't give, this is coming out in 2025 May, this is coming out in March. So I don't know when any of these come out, and they could all take their time.
We do know Creature Commandos and Waller before Superman, but then otherwise, who knows?
But what I mean is, like, none of those have release dates like firm. So like,
but to Ryan's point and Sparks' point, though we know those we have more information about those three because they're the furthest along.
Yeah.
We know as much as they've developed at this point.
It might take like. They could be writing the Batman script, right? And like it might take a year longer than they expect. That's fine. Then they won't make that movie until the script's done. So like if we have to wait, and like if they say, hey, we got a Batman movie coming out in the next couple of years, and it takes 3 years instead of 2, they didn't do what Marvel does and give us 48 release dates for the next 2 to 3 years, where we know half of those change anyway. So like this was like the best approach, where I do think all of these first chapter 1 things, they will all come out in the next 5 to 10 years for sure.
With James Gunn stuff, because I was like even looking ahead in our thing about all some of James Gunn's quotes about like story first, director's vision, and all that gives me hope. But we've been burned before.
I mean, but Ben, what Ben is talking about, real quickly, Ben, because I'm just gonna reiterate something. What Ben is talking about is exactly what Sparks was talking about, which is that Sparks said, this is really it. They don't have another chance after this. Not really. Like, you're going to have a very difficult time getting your audience back. There are people like Ben who are already at that point where you're like, I'm not sure if I'm here for this. Where I think with us, we're giving DC this other chance. We were confident on James Gunn. But there are people still like Ben who's like, you know what, you burned me already.
That's fair. And again, we're not going to see those projects for a while.
And also, I'm not saying that I'm like completely burned out on DC. I was James Gunn with his leadership with the Suicide Squad. I wasn't really too hot on a Suicide Squad film until I heard James Gunn directing. And I saw the movie. I freaking love that movie. Peacemaker, the same thing. I heard they're making a Peacemaker show. I'm like, why are we gonna make a Peacemaker about this no-name guy from the Suicide Squad movie? Turns out to be one of the greatest superhero shows I have ever seen in my entire goddamn life.
It's true.
But James Gunn is not the problem. The problem is DC, Zaslav, the other heads over there. But if they can keep their greedy little mitts off of it and let the creators do what the creators do best, and then stuff comes out, and I have a really good feeling it's gonna be good because I mean, it's James Gunn. Thus far, James Gunn has put out some really great shit. Really good.
To help you along, Ben, real quickly, I want to reiterate something that he said that we've already talked about. Like when they were hired, when Safran and Gunn were hired, it was with the mentality of, putting creators in a place like this is the way to go, because putting executives in a place like this hasn't been working. So we'll try this Pixar method. We'll do this idea of and so that's why Gunn is very much filmmaker first. And to be fair, that's also what I liked about Hamada. Like, I don't want to throw him under the bus completely, but I like that Hamada let the director's vision shines through. Like, that's a James Wan Aquaman movie. That's a Patty Jenkins Wonder Woman movie. It's not. It didn't feel homogenized even under him. And so to see Gunn not only committing to that, but also doubling down on that. Like, these films will be, if James Mangold is doing a Swamp Thing film, it is a James Mangold Swamp Thing film. And so I think that's what's going to help this franchise, that there won't be a lot of meddling from David Zaslav, because maybe he knows he doesn't know what the hell he's doing, but he put them in charge for the reason that they will be in charge. Not to be overseen by him.
Right, but really the gist of what I'm saying is I'm looking forward to it, but I don't want to say too much until I see a trailer.
Yeah. No, we all get it, Ben. We know what you're talking about. I think I'm more encouraged by the diversity, and I don't mean like representationally. I mean just like how different this is from like any slate anyone probably would have predicted or come up with. It shows an investment in the comics, and it also shows an investment in the fact that they clearly have ideas and they have stories that they want to tell. That's where their focus is. It's not on crowd pleasers. We're not starting at get all the things that are obvious out of the way first, and then we'll get weird and wacky. As Ryan said, starting with Creature Commandos is a clear signal of like, we're just gonna do the thing that makes the most sense and we can do right now and we have a good story for, and it'll all work out.
Yeah. And James Gunn, there is no one better than James Gunn to write a bunch of weirdos on a team. Like, I have more faith in Creature Commandos than writing on anything else, because I know James Gunn is writing it, and that's going to be good because he's a good writer. He's written nothing but good stuff.
I will skip a little bit ahead and then go back, because Mag has a comment that actually ties into a quote that I have, if that's okay. If Ben, you want to put up Mag's comment. I says, I'm interested in how Supergirl will be in the Tomorrow films, or the Tomorrowverse films, after the event with Legion of Superheroes anime movie. Yes. So Gunn has a quote about that, which I thought was interesting. He was specifically asked about the DC original animated films that come out from Warner Media. The films are building a new universe right now, starting with Superman Man of Tomorrow. What does that mean? Because he mentioned that he wants film, television, animation, video games all to be connected. what does that mean exactly? The details of which we'll have to wait and see. But he has a quote here about the original films, if I may. We're dealing with all that. He starts. Some of that stuff will continue as Elseworlds, but a lot of other stuff we're starting to bring into animation with Warner Brothers Animation president Sam Register, so that we'll have things that are connected with this. I think there have been a lot of really marvelous DC cartoons, so we're going to keep moving forward with that. Sounds like the volume will decrease, but the universe will continue.
Yeah, I'm sure that's the case. Like, I don't think the Elseworlds banner is there just for the things that already started, like the Batman and the Todd Phillips Joker film series and the DC animated films. I think it's still there for like any other project. If someone comes forward and says, I have a really good story idea, it doesn't fit into the minutia of the world you are building, but it's a great story idea, it'll be an Elseworlds project, whether that's in animation or a video game or a movie. I think that the point is that he just wants to be utilizing those fields to build their universe rather than keeping themselves locked to just movies and live action television series.
So when they first said that we want, this new DCU, one actor will do everything. They'll do games, movies, TV shows. And that's very, very interesting because I am not against that as long as you are not destroying everything else that's coming out. If we're going to continue to have like the DC animated movies, a new Legion movie, let's do a new Batman movie in this universe, whatever. That should continue because I do not want the next guy who's playing Batman to now be the only person playing Batman in the animated thing. He's also only guy in the video game. He's also the only one in the TV show because that limits thousands of actors from doing every other role they could potentially be doing. So as long as you're not limiting all of your animation and games to just the new DC universe, this is fine. This is totally fine. Because that's when it gets scary. When, let's just say, like Pedro Pascal is your new Batman. He's going to be the only person playing Batman in the movies and the games and the TV shows for the next 5 years. I'd have a problem with that. Mm-hmm. I don't think that will be the case.
No, and I think that what's valuable is that I suspect this is going to, I think Brandon's right, the volume of the amount of DC animated films and how rapid they come out is probably going to decrease. An investment into their animation studio and their projects, regardless of if they are for the main universe or for these Elseworld stories, is going to mean that they are getting better budgets, better teams, better support.
Yeah.
I think that is going to happen. I think putting an investment in a banner way overseeing the DC properties as something that you should support is going to funnel more people towards it. And putting it specifically on an Elseworlds banner will make it so that people don't feel like it's something that they have to watch, but it might be something they trust to watch now just because it's getting this oversight.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the DC original animated films are frankly always on the chopping block when something like this runs around, or at least they have been for the past 5 years, maybe more, because they don't make a lot of money. They're expensive to put out because you're putting them out only physical media, and they don't get the return that, frankly, I wish they got, but they just don't. Because of maybe streaming hurt that. Maybe they should be streaming only movies. But at the end of the day, it's interesting. It does sound like there hasn't been a decision whether or not the franchise that they're building in these films will continue. Those films will continue, because he does say we're looking into that. There's like a decision one way or the other hasn't been made, but it does sound promising that he's willing to be like, we'll most likely keep those as is.
This is starting to sound like the dream that I know Marvel will never do, just because they're doing something different, which is fine. They're building their own singular universe. I just want a world where I can go see a Batman movie and it is tied to a Justice League cinematic universe. I can also next year see a different Batman movie that it's just its own thing, just like I do in the comic books. Or I can watch a Batman TV show that's not tied to anything. And I know it's an unrealistic Hollywood view of the world, because that's just, we'll never get that. But the Elseworlds thing is the closest I'm going to get to that, where I can have multiple versions. We are going to get a Batfleck while Robert Pattinson is around. So like my dream is slowly coming to a reality where just like the comics, where I have a plethora of all my favorite heroes. Because why can't we just have a bunch of everything? That's how you make money.
So Elseworlds, they mentioned Elseworlds being an imprint that everything is going to be specifically labeled Elseworlds. That's one thing that's really important to him, because he name checked like the Arrowverse and things like that as not being clear, or not being, I wasn't quite clear on it, but like he was like, everything that's not part of this universe needs to be specifically labeled Elseworlds from now on. And so the Batman Part 2 will be Elseworlds. That has a release date, by the way. It's October 3rd, 2025. The director, Matt Reeves, talked about how it's an epic crime saga. Very exciting. Obviously, Joker Folie à Deux, and then Ta-Nehisi Coates' Superman film, still apparently in production.
Yeah,
that's great. It's a good sign.
And on that note, like that these Elseworlds things can continue. I do not completely care if Journey Smollett and Misha Green's Black Canary film is set in this new Gunn Safran created DC universe. I just want it to be made.
Yes.
I don't care where it lands. I just want it to be made. If it's an Elseworlds, it's an Elseworlds. I do not care. Just make the movie.
Yeah.
I feel the same way about if Margot Robbie's not our Harley Quinn in this new universe, then give her one last project that's an Elseworlds to send her off.
100%.
That's how I feel. Like, I do a good last project with her if you're not going to use her anymore. Please, for the love of God, do that. Whatever it takes. Whatever it takes.
Ryan talked a little bit about how Tom King is one of the kind of the architects of this new chapter, of this new phase of DC. Other names: Drew Goddard, Jeremy Slater, who worked on Moon Knight, Christina Hodson, who wrote the Flash film, and Crystal Henry, Watchmen, are among other writers that are the architects of this universe.
Those are it's a good list of people.
Yeah. Safran also said that Batgirl would have irrevocably hurt DC's brand if they put it out there, and yeah, all right.
I kind of wish he didn't say that, to be honest.
Me too.
Even like I
think he's full of shit.
There is a chance it's a bad movie, right? It happens, but like I wish they wouldn't just constantly continue to shit on this movie that's not coming out.
Yeah,
just let it die. Let it be like, hey, it's not right for us. Sorry, Batgirl, but like to say
let the people who worked on it
brand.
Let the people who worked on it move on. You don't have to be so mean to say like it would have ruined our brand.
Yeah, that's rough.
Yeah, that's really shitty. Obviously, I just like you brought up with Gunn kind of throwing Birds of Prey under the bus. I kind of wish they hadn't said these things. It goes back to what I said about like specifically naming HBO projects as reference points. I'm like, I feel like there were talking points to this. It's not to say that everything they said wasn't what they felt, but that they had to hit certain buttons to protect Zaslav's ass.
Again,
like,
True Detective is a weird.
That's part of it
for a Green Lantern.
And like I'm sure that's close, but like close in a broad sense of like they're investigating a thing.
Yeah.
And like
any other detective show.
Right. But you said True Detective.
Because that's ours.
Game of Thrones, it's about interpersonal politics. And like
we own that one.
That's it. And like who knows? Maybe I'm wrong, but it does feel like there were a lot of weird talking points that I feel like were driven by improve the look of Zaslav as the head of this brand, specifically for the decisions that they've made, including the hiring of you. And that one particular feels like you were told to say this if Batgirl came up, I feel like, and unfortunately have to, because that's how jobs work. Yeah. But even if that was their opinion, I'm like, I don't agree with this.
Yeah.
Let us decide if it's bad. How about that?
I mean, it's the movie. The movie can never come out because of the tax break thing.
Yeah.
Let it die.
Would Peter Safran have even seen it? Who knows?
Yeah. So he mentioned. So one of the things at the beginning of the presentation is that he said that I mentioned already. Movies, TV shows, animation, and video games all want to be connected now. They don't want all of them to be separate entities. To kind of get more clarity on that one, because I wasn't quite sure what he meant from just the presentation. He didn't really go into it, in fairness. But I, on first hearing that, I actually don't like the idea of incorporating the video games into this overarching franchise. It's not like I needed Marvel's Spider-Man to be Tom Holland.
Let me tell you, lots of video game developers agree with you.
Yeah, and
the way video games are made is not how movies are made. They take a lot longer and they're a lot more difficult. And scheduling really big celebrities, that's why there's not a lot of really big celebrities unless you pay them a lot of money in video games. That's why there's voice actors who need to be paid more. But like again, like if they will make the next Batman, Pedro Pascal's Batman, and we're gonna make a Batman movie with him in it, or Batman video game with him in it. Don't make other Batman games. You know what I mean? Let there be multiple Batman games if you're gonna do this. But I don't think this is gonna happen. I don't think they're gonna truncate an entire section of an audience.
Well, and again, like I go back to, I don't think that this is shutting out other projects. Like I think there will be other DC games that will now be called Elseworlds, but that there will be other DC game projects. I think that he just wants to utilize video games to sometimes tell a story that exists in this field.
Yeah.
So that's why I wanted to bring up the quote, because I went searching for an interview that he did on DC, and he does have a quote specifically explaining what this means. So he says, "It's not like we're going to have the Superman movie come out and have this Superman game come out. It's more like we'll have the Superman film come out, then maybe 2 years later, we have the Supergirl movie coming out. So what's the story in between there? Is there a crypto game that we can play that comes in between them? Something that's still set in the world with these characters, but is its own thing. We want to give the prominence to games that they deserve."
Okay, so if like a comic book tie-in, but just turning it into a video game.
Yeah.
And then like if you have a smaller villain in video game form, there's no reason they can't show up in live action still.
I got it for you. It's so Creature Commandos is all modern day show.
Yeah.
You want your World War II shit?
Wolfenstein, but
It's
with
a
them.
video game.
Yeah,
It's a video game they make after the show.
Yeah, that sounds all right. Yeah.
And so
that's
so
what I think.
this makes more sense to me, and I'm glad that they were able to find the clarity to that. At the same time, it's still I think what Marvel has done with their video games is really great. I think that they're all separate universes. They're not connected to anything larger. And I don't want to see that go away from DC, because DC has made some incredible video games. Some not so much, but like still. So like if we're getting both, I'm fine with that.
There's a Wonder Woman game not coming out this year. It's probably coming out next year. But there's a Wonder Woman game that's in development.
Right.
That it's probably will be now quote unquote Elseworlds because it's not.
Which is fine.
Yeah.
Like, and I think that's the thing is that again, I think he wants to utilize these tools where possible. He wants to utilize animation when it's possible and video games when it's possible. And to be honest, probably comics when it's possible. I know he didn't bring it up here, but I would not be surprised if he decides, we really should have this really nice story that fills in this spot right here that would tell a lot of story, but it doesn't need to be an animated show. Let's make it a comic.
Marvel used to do that. Then are like, we can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the thing we've talked about before where like, boy, how nice would it have been if we'd had a comic that was set between Civil War and Infinity War on what Steve and the team were doing rather than 2 pages in a movie companion book that just are kind of them standing in a room.
Yeah.
Like you could tell that story to really flesh those characters out and fill in some gaps. And I think that there's entirely a possibility. I think he just wants to use access to all the things that they have access to as resources to expand the universe when the story is right for it.
I will be so excited because I bet it'll be a while before the first like video game
Oh,
tie-in.
absolutely.
But I'm curious. I'm so excited to be like, I wonder what the first one will be. Watch it just be like it's like a telltale crypto game where you're just playing as crypto, just like doing detective work.
So because we brought up comics, is a good time to point out that yes, Gunn used comic books to promote these movies, and even put out a tweet afterwards saying these are the comics to get what the tone that we're going for, and they all sold out online. Many stores are sold out of them. They're sold out at a distributor level. Like it is really crazy to see this happen. And I really, I'll say this first. I think this is Gunn's way of being like, he mentioned before is like, I don't want comic books to die on the vine. I don't want them to be disrespected as a medium. I love them and I want to promote them. I want them to succeed. I don't want to live in a world where comic books don't exist anymore. And I'm paraphrasing some of that, but still. And so him using, sorry about the car behind me, him using comic books to promote these projects and then saying this is what we're going for, I believe will be the norm going forward for DC Studios, and hopefully it kicks Marvel in the ass to do the same thing. Because I don't think you guys noticed, or maybe you did, but we didn't bring it up when we talked about the Shazam trailer. At the end of the Shazam trailer is an ad for comic books. Go read these comic books for this thing. That's really cool. I want to see that at the end of every comic book trailer and every DC comic book trailer. I
cannot believe that, first of all, there's people saying that Marvel does this all the time, and no, they don't, not to this degree. And people saying Captain America Civil War is a promotion for Marvel's Civil War, this in the same way that this is like, guys, using the same name is not the same way of promoting a book. Just because it's called Civil War doesn't mean they're selling more copies. You have to put it on the screen. You have to tell people, hey, this movie you'll see in a year, this is what it's based off. Go check it out. And it's working. Those books are selling hot. You want to buy Batman's Omnibus? You can't unless you spend $200.
I think we're also going to see James Gunn take the same idea because he's aware of how this influences people, and push on the studios to be like, hey, maybe you should pay the people who made the comic we're basing this off of.
DC,
maybe we should give a little bit of money to them.
Yeah, I don't know about DC in general, but I know James Gunn specifically, when he worked at DC, like he got John Ostrander and a couple of guys a lot of money for Suicide Squad stuff
because they put him in the movie. And speaking line specifically,
Mm-hmm.
John Ostrander has a speaking line specifically to give him the kind of money that he would get as an actor, because the residual is measly, honestly.
Right. And so I think in whatever way he can, he's going to do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think that's really great. And so there was a prevalent theory going around for many years that was not disproven, and for many years suggesting that comic book movies don't create comic book readers. And we now have definitive proof, I believe, that is wrong, because if you promote the comics, you create comic book readers. And for many, 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 many decades, the movies were not. Mm-hmm. This is like from the beginning of comic book adaptations, they did not promote comic books. And that is why that theory was created. And so having the idea of like, hey, we're going to create a bunch of comic book readers by saying, this is what these movies are based on. These are the titles to go find. They will do it.
The only comic books that get sold after a movie is announced is the people who buy those comics are people who are already at the comic book shop.
Mm-hmm.
They say there's a new Ant-Man movie, like, oh, I'll check out that Ant-Man comic because they're already at the comic shop. Casey Casual is not I'm gonna go pick up an Ant-Man comic because it's based off that. Like, it's so interesting that like the buzz around DC is so hot right now, and like the sales are real. Like if you go on Amazon, you can't buy any of these books that any of these books ever announced. None of them. It's incredible. DC Infinite, if you go on their main page, there's an entire row of here's all the movies we just talked about. You can read them. You got to spend $120 a year to do it. But it's actually not that bad. But at one price, it's a lot. They're doing such a good job of like getting people to read the comic. And I agree, man. Like this will be the regular. The next chapter 2, we'll see the exact same thing, and those comics will sell out too. And that's only a win for the comic industry.
The thing about what Marvel did that, we gave them props because, it's kind of cool. You threw us a bone. Now realizing it's not enough is they put QR codes in their shows, which would link to comic book pages. That's cool, whatever. But that wasn't explicit enough. That was blink and you miss it QR codes. Who in their right mind would be like, if I saw a QR code in a TV show, my first instinct is not to scan it.
Yeah, I'm not going to pause the show to read that comic.
And like that, and that's kind of cool, sure, whatever. But and it's nice to acknowledge the comic book creators. But like doing this explicit thing of like what Shazam did, what the Shazam trailer did, which was have the end of the trailer be an ad for comic books, just a quick title page of like these are the comics that the book is based on. That is enough.
Yeah,
that's frankly the minimum.
Quietly, the minimum.
So. I was really happy to see that, and I'm really happy that could be the norm.
And honestly, I didn't expect it because again, like I read 3 issues of Supergirl, but I was like, I'll pick up that trade. It's definitely available on Amazon because everything's available on Amazon. And it's like we are out of stock. And then I went to discounttrades.com. We are out of stock. And I went to my Barnes and Noble across the street from my work, and they didn't have it either. Everybody's buying it.
It's really great to see.
Yeah,
sure. And it's really nice to see that the adage comic book movies don't create comic book readers is not true. You promote the comics, they will come.
Especially in the modern era of like how you can literally press one buy it now button and you can have a book delivered to your house. Like you show somebody something, you're like they will buy it. It's very easy.
The Moon Knight QR codes, like Mag brought up, cool. It is fun that they did that. That's neat.
Yeah,
it's not the same as putting in front of their face, you should go read this comic.
Especially if you're not like a fake nerd, if you're a Casey Casual, you're not even gonna know what that means. You're gonna be watching Moon Knight as a regular show. You might not even see the QR code or pay attention to it. Because how are you supposed to know as a regular person, I have to scan that to read a comic? Because like I don't know if Disney Plus tells you that when you open the episode, right? Like no. How are you supposed to know that unless you're in the nerd zone?
There's talking. James Gunn is saying all the right things for me. He's saying story comes first. The director's vision is the director's vision. We do not have release dates for a bunch of these because the story needs to be there before it's created. He did not name check Marvel, but like he did talk about how like many superhero movies are filmed without third act written, and we're not going to do that.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And again, like this is also good. These movies can all turn out to be, you know, just like any other movie. It could be totally fine, mediocre, whatever. But like he is saying all the right things for like it's got to be so daunting. And remember, he was just hired like 4 months ago. And he's like, all right, cool. Plan 10 years of movies and television and video games for us, please.
And keep some of what came before.
And keep like it is a daunting task, but like again, he having a partner instead of just doing it all on his own with Peter Safran, like is really great.
And he also sees it as this incredible opportunity, and he's so passionate and excited about it. I think that's what's important.
Yeah, and again, working with Marvel for so long, at this point, a decade, because with the 3 Guardians movies, he's learned from their mistakes, and he's also the person who made if Guardians 3 come out like a perfect trilogy. In the system.
And he understands that they're in the perfect position right now, that they don't have to do what the MCU did, because they don't have to hope that this next release after Iron Man works.
Yes.
And that we get to build a universe. He gets to open the door and say, we know that there's an audience for these materials. We just have to convince them that there are stories here they want to see.
Yeah.
So we're going to just throw that out there. And he knows that that's where they are. So he knows that they can go hard and go wide on what they're going to give them.
Yeah.
And when you look at something like the legacy of what DC has done in film for many, many years, the idea of like, we're going to introduce a new Batman, but we're going to do it in a Batman family movie. You know, how many times have comic book fans wanted a Batman family? The thing is, James Gunn is a comic book fan. He's one of us, frankly. Like he's a person who loves comic books and reads comic books, and probably is also much like us. Hey, why haven't you adapted the Batman family yet? What's taking you so long? Oh, yeah. I'm in charge now. I can do that. Yeah. And it makes sense because we know everyone and their mother knows Batman.
Yeah.
We've seen a lot of Batman movies without Robin. It's time.
I agree. I'm ready for it. It is so crazy to think that in a couple years time, like we will have like a 35 to 40-year-old Batman with his son in the first movie instead of like waiting 10 years for a trilogy. That's just really cool. And again, like every time you make a new Batman movie or a new whatever version of something, you have to do something they haven't done before. And what have you done before? Just do what the comic does.
Yeah.
Just do that. Have it be where like, and again, with the Grant Morrison stuff, like they introduced like the Zurin Law stuff where like he has a personality built into his brain in case he ever gets his mind controlled. He says Zurin Law, and then that mind takes over. And
Grant Morrison. Nonsense. Grant Morrison is so wonderful, and I'm so happy that their books are sold out because like so many people are reading Grant Morrison's wonderful Batman books. Zurin Arg is so cool because it's a stupid concept of an interplanetary Batman who has Superman's powers in space from the 60s that Grant Morrison was like, you know what if it's actually a misinterpreted words? What if it's actually Martha Wayne's misinterpreted words and it triggers a psychotic Batman when he's brainwashed? Like, beautiful. Mwah. Beautiful.
Morrison is one of the great writers who he's like everything's canon. Everything is canon. The stupidest stuff and the most important stuff, all of it is real. So they can take whatever they want. And that is just, again, starting from this is the last thing I'll say about it because I know we've been going a long time, but like starting at a base of like pure comic books of like we're starting with like 4 Robins from the start is thrilling, just thrilling.
All right, let's move on before Ben passes out.
He already did.
And real quick, what's of all these? What is the number one that you're excited about of all these?
Superman.
Okay, what's the number 2? Because Superman, I kind of knew.
Yeah,
Swamp Thing.
Cool. Okay, what's the number 3?
Love it.
Good answer.
Brave and the Bold.
That's good.
I'll be honest right now. I think my top is Waller. I have to be honest because we know the creative team, and because I love Peacemaker and the fact that I know we're getting like kind of Peacemaker 2.5 but focused on Waller. I'm like, okay, cool.
She's got to deal with that team that hit her in the head and stuff, right?
Super stoked for it.
You know, it's interesting. This is the Book of Boba Fett, but they actually told us beforehand, like, no, this is the Book of Boba Fett, not Mandalorian. It's Peacemaker 1.5, not something new.
Yeah, I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it because it's focusing on Waller and like it makes sense to have the Peacemaker team show up again.
And Adebayo, her daughter's
Oh,
got to
God,
show
yeah,
up.
yeah.
Like I'm ready.
God, yeah.
Love
And you got the Doom Patrol and Watchmen people on it. Like, my God.
I think this is very exciting. And if you're a comic book fan, frankly, I don't know why you wouldn't be.
Yeah.
Sure.
All right.
If anything, this just gives you an excuse to check out comics you've never read before. That's all it is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a bright future. I'm excited.
It's a dawn
Of DC.
Mm-hmm. All right. Trailers. Atomic Heart.
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on this one.
Well, did you put this on here?
I did.
Awesome. I love that.
I think I remember something a while ago, seeing some glimpse of this world. So they obviously released some trailer a while back.
We talked about this like a year or two ago.
I was gonna say
it's been in development. For
like
a long
I've
time.
seen, I saw this world a while ago and thought this was cool. We see a lot more now.
It's Russian BioShock,
and this looks like a lot of fun. I was gonna say it's like BioShock meets something else.
Fallout.
That I was gonna name specifically.
Because it's retrofuturism.
I'll think of it. Ben, thoughts on this game trailer?
It looks pretty good. I mean, I thought when it said it was like a FPS action RPG, I was like, this looks more like just a straight up FPS to me. But the gameplay, like the way the world is designed, like that style of retrofuturism, especially in Soviet Russia, it works. It looks really good. And also just like that whole like the glove with the AI, the tendrils.
Oh yeah,
Infamous.
It looks creepy, but it also looks
the superhero game.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
That's what I was gonna say. Sorry, Ben. Sorry.
No, it looks creepy, but it also looks innovative, and I would like to see more. I don't know if this game has me like convinced yet, as in like, oh, I need to buy this game, I need to play it, but it does look promising. It looks really interesting.
So this is important. Did you watch the whole trailer or did you skim? Which is fine.
No, whole thing.
Okay, so there was a point I was watching the trailer and I'm like, this is pretty cool. I don't know if it's weird enough for me though. And then one of them bends down with a horn and slits the other right up the middle from the force node. I was like, all right, this is weird enough.
I saw that bit too.
Cautiously optimistic because I think this game looks too good to be true. It looks incredible. It really does look like open world BioShock in Russia, and I just for layman's like what this game looks like. It looks like too good. The graphics are insane. The enemy design is awesome. I'm not convinced that this isn't just like half of it is on rails of how good it looks with the shooting and like the movement and like
there's a lot of environment stuff. That I'm like, if you get to just go through that, that's really cool.
And they say it is an open world. There are plenty. Ben, this is more of my genre. There are a lot of shooter RPGs. Like Far Cry has been that for 15 years at this point.
Far Cry, Fallout.
Yeah.
Oh god, there's more. Just Cause? No,
I don't know if there's upgrading. I've only played the first two. Anyway, this game looks too good to be true. So like, if like something's got to be bad about it, like the story's got to really suck, or like it's got to be like really like technically broken that we haven't seen. Because like I just can't. This game looks like a 10 out of 10. And I can't believe it because this is what I thought about the Callisto Protocol, and that game turned out to be shit. So anything's possible. Boy, this game looks awesome. I am so hopeful, very hopeful.
Brandon, any thoughts?
No. I was waiting for the question. I had that ready. No, I think this looks really good, but there's nothing I could say that wouldn't be just reiterating what you guys said.
Okay, solid. Yeah, because I was like, I think Brandon would actually like this world. I think he'd like to play this game. There's a lot of cool stuff on display here. I hope it comes out solid.
Having the little thing you can take over other artificial intelligences and stuff
through their butthole.
Through their butthole. That definitely that one was like, that's where you put it. Love it.
That last shot when like the Soviet AI lady who has no face but the red star at the top of her head is standing over you. I'm like, oh gosh, this looks exciting.
The design is incredible.
Yeah,
can't wait.
All right,
The Power.
This is an Amazon series coming out with Toni Collette and John Leguizamo and Ali Carvalho.
What if the boys, but for girls?
Sorry, I'm butchering it. Carvalho.
That's fine.
There we go. The voice of Moana and appearing in other projects we've talked about before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what if girls started developing a gland in their body that gave them electrical powers? And I'm like, you know what? We don't have Motherland Fort Salem anymore. I think this is our new replacement show.
I think it might be our new. We hate all young teenage girls because they're different.
Yeah. Yeah, this looks really cool. And again, Toni Collette, in anything she does, I'll watch. She's one of those people where, especially after Hereditary, I'm like, you have a free check, in my opinion. You pick good stuff. So yeah, I'll at least watch the first episode. This looks
You've seen United States of Terror.
No, I know it's good. It was that was pre me loving Toni Collette.
Yeah, no, I get it.
It's early. It's an early one.
All right.
Do you guys have thoughts on The Power?
Not really.
Not really.
Zip, zero,
Okay.
Nada.
Listen, we watch all the cool lady
We
shows.
watch the lady shows.
Okay.
That is not my lack of opinion is not an indication of how I feel about the show. I think it looks pretty cool. I just don't really have anything I want to say.
I get it.
Okay.
Ben hates women, though. That
is it. We did
I
it.
didn't say it.
We did it.
313 episodes later, and we've exposed him. Got him.
That was the plan.
It was a long ruse, a long trap. All right, pack it up. Nah, Ben loves women.
That sounds worse. That sounds like you're coming like some of my best friends are women.
I'm so sorry. Ben respects women.
Okay.
Damn right I do.
Let's that sounded rude. Let's go into our main topic.
I'm gonna scream.
Okay, so we are here to talk about we are beginning our journey to Scream 6. We got it locked on, and we're like, let's do that. Let's get ready for Screevy. The only way fake nerds know how to do it, which is watching every entry of a franchise before the new one shows up.
That I've never seen before.
So we're talking today. This time we did not decide to do it as one thing. As I mentioned up top, we are doing it as separate things. So next week we will talk about 3 and 4. But today we're talking about 1 and 2.
Scream and Scream 2, which came out 1 year apart, 1996 and 1997. I'm super excited. We're going to try and stay focused on just one at a time if we can. So we're going to just talk about Scream first. First of all, I fucking love these movies. So you're going to get a lot of completely biased opinions from me. Ben, how'd you feel?
Oh, well, this is my first time interacting with the Scream movies outside of a Halloween store. Because, you always see those, like the ghost face masks and Halloween. The only other thing I knew about Scream was from the Scary Movie franchise, where they would do the waza. Like we were talking about that when we were watching the movies last night. Out of these two, I highly enjoyed these. I get they are horror movies, but they weren't like horrors and I'm actually terrified for the person on screen. I mean, I am. But more so, like, I want to see how they get out of this. It was really cool to watch how Ghostface, or the people playing Ghostface, would be there 1 second, you turn around, and then you turn back, and they're gone. And it's like, oh, there were so many oh shit moments in both films that kept me on my toes and also kept me guessing and kept me thinking, who's the killer? How does it? It's like, who has the motive? Who has what? It's like, and then when the twists come up at the end. I'm generalizing for both of them. We'll get down into the nitty-gritty details later. But when they come up with the twists, I was like, really? Oh my gosh. And then it's like, oh man, it all makes sense now. How did I didn't see it before? So I highly liked it. I had a good time with these movies. They were very fun.
So Ben, real quickly, just to bounce off of what you said, they operate a lot like murder mysteries, which is what I think is so successful about them. I love a good murder mystery. I think murder mysteries rule when they're rewatchable, especially. Like watching, I think this honestly might only be the second or third time I've seen the first film. I know the first time I ever watched it was with Sparks, but I'm not sure when I would have seen it otherwise. And I man, that was years ago. Sparks, that was ages and ages ago. But I when the spoilers for all of these movies. When the phone dropped out of Billy's hand, I was like, oh, I forgot how obvious they make it that Billy is the killer, and then completely throw you off the scent.
Yeah.
I have always enjoyed the Scream movies, but it has been a while since I watched them. Scream 1, I think, might be a masterpiece. Scream 2 is excellent. It's really good. But I think that first one, my God, I don't. There are very few people who can ride the line of horror comedy camp like Wes Craven.
Mm-hmm.
And specifically in Scream, it is such an incredible line of like, I'm afraid for this person to die, and then 1 second later I'm laughing at something they said because it's really funny. And it's able to be like, it is the best like tightrope of this genre. The characters are great. The mystery is fantastic. It's like a bunch of characters are like in a bunch of different movies, and then Nev Campbell is like, it's like I'm in this movie, in the real movie, and then everyone else is like really goofy, and it's just really fun. I think it's just fantastic. I'm glad that the Scream franchise has continued. I am sad Wes Craven is no longer here, but man, I forgot how good this first movie was. I forgot how early it came out too. I was thinking like, oh yeah, Scream came out in like 2000. And I'm like, no, it's 96. Like, damn, that's early. Great movie.
Yeah. I think Scream does an incredible job of taking the piss out of the slasher genre at that point in time and shaking up what horror was doing. Mag brought it up really well. I think great start to Some of the Stars and analyzing the horror subgenre of the slasher movies and villains.
Very meta.
It does. Yeah. Being meta really works for it. I think you're right. Like it has such a deft hand at handling its humor and its scares.
Dewey, man.
Doing them at both times and from moment to moment, like deciding to linger on bits like when Dewey goes to the phone after Sid's gotten the call while Billy's in prison, and she gets freaked out and she walks away, and he walks up with the gun and he's like, hello.
This is a very, very funny movie while also being like a really good slasher movie.
Yeah.
I love it.
I mean, you're right. Like it walks that line because like there's the Freddy Krueger cameo. Like if you know, that's incredibly hilarious. When you're just like, who's there? It's like, "Ruh." Sorry,
Not
Fred.
you, Fred.
Not you, Fred.
I forgot Henry Winkler was in this movie.
Yeah, a lot of people do if they don't see it for a while, and then it's like, oh yeah, and he's this absolutely unhinged.
Oh my God,
principal.
he's unhinged, and he's like really perverted, but then like he does something really perverted, and then like the next scene he's on the the school announcement.
Remember,
like,
your principal
loves you, and I'm like, what is going on with this man? It's like so many like weird different movies are happening at the same time that Nev Campbell's just trying to live her life, and it's like I can't talk about the tone enough. How it's a beautiful crescendo of so many different feelings at once,
and it's easy today, I think, especially for Ben, because he's the newest to it, to take for granted how violently jarring the opening is for the time that it came out.
Yeah, Drew Barrymore specifically was cast, and people did not know she wasn't the star of the movie. They casted one of the biggest stars in the world at the time to be killed in the first 10 minutes as a joke. They did the same thing for the second one,
and like brutally, like the way that you get the shot of her entrails when she's hanging from the tree is very like in the 90s, in 96, like that really shook audiences up to see that.
And it's like it's horrifying, like with the parents and like the music, and like they start screaming, and then it does like the weird like the thing that it does, and I'm like, it's an interesting choice. I don't know if I love that, but
you brought the music up. I really like how oppressive the soundtrack is in this movie. In this movie specifically, I can't really recall the soundtracks for 3, 4, and 5. I do obviously watch 2, so like I recognize that one. But like in this film specifically, like the there's like heavy gothic oppressive sound permeates the movie through its soundtrack, and I think that's really interesting choice for something that is oftentimes very funny. Like Ghostface, it gets beat up more than any other slasher ever in any history, in any franchise, and it's funny oftentimes, and so like, and to have this like really just like again oppressive soundtrack is a really interesting choice, and it's a great soundtrack to boot.
Yeah,
I agree. It keeps it very melancholic, especially around Sid, especially as you are slowly getting the pieces of exposition about what happened to her mom, which I think is doled out very well
perfectly
through the film.
Yeah.
You're not fed it all too much at once. You get it in small chunks, and I think that's really good.
The stuff of Cotton, love it.
The small appearance of Cotton.
Yeah.
in the first one, he's only on the news screen for a moment
5
with
seconds.
an unspeaking role, but it's still Liev Schreiber.
Yeah. They knew just in case.
Well,
I
they
cannot tell you
apparently
how many. No, I was gonna say I cannot tell you how many times I'm watching both this movie and Scream 2 where I'm like, wait, this famous person that I know decently well is in this movie? What?
Cotton, interestingly enough, I believe Liev Schreiber was cast specifically because so Kevin Williamson apparently said that he had the idea for Scream 2 while he was writing Scream 1. So it was, I think, always intended to be 2 movies. Because this, as Sparks mentioned, the film actually came out less than a year after the first film. And so they turned that one around real quick. And so I think probably Liev Schreiber was the like, let's get someone for this part so we can have him in the second one.
Yes,
Absolutely.
I'm sure that's true.
Yeah.
I'm sure that like that initially probably might have even been someone else or not been there quite as they see it, and then they knew they were casting Schreiber and so put him into this moment. Yeah, it really worked out. Scream, what an incredible film. There's so many things that you can say. I think one of the main things is that I think a lot of people can give both Skeet Ulrich and Matthew Lillard a bit of a hard time for their acting performances in this film.
I know your mom did.
My mom does not like Skeet Ulrich's acting in this movie.
Not at all.
And that it's very over the top. And I'm like, they are both consistent at knowing they're the killers the entire movie. Once you know they're the killers and you go back and watch it, every single interaction is dripping with them.
Every single
They
one.
are playing 2 characters who have a secret, who know and one of them is really excited about the secret, and the other is like, you need to freaking calm down.
The first fountain scene, like when they're all hanging together, and like and Billy and Stu are talking, and like because I've seen it before, I'm like, oh my god, it's so obvious. If once you know. And the body language and the way Billy keeps trying to tell Stu to shut up and settle down.
Because Stu is so giddy about them doing this.
Yeah.
So just being on the internet, you come across screenshots of movies that you've never seen before, obviously. And one of them, of course, was the scene with Matthew Lillard at the end where he's like holding the gun. He's like doing like the hee face. And when I see him in this movie, I'm like, I put 2 and 2 together. So I knew that Matthew Lillard was a killer. But then the more I watched it, I was like, but is he though? I never knew that Billy was the killer, because like the more I see Matthew Lillard, the more I see him talking. I was like, oh yeah, he's definitely a killer. But that doesn't mean there isn't only one. Like when Billy shows up and you think Billy's the killer, like when the cell phone drops off and saying, I thought, oh, is it him? Is he a killer too? Or is he the killer? And then Matthew Lillard just picks up, or they just like swap off and off. Turns out, yes, they both are. But what I have to say is I actually really enjoy Matthew Lillard's performance. I know he is over the top, but I feel like that's his character. But also it's like, I know I kind of met people like that throughout my life. But then looking over at Billy, the more I think about it, it's like, yeah, it makes sense that he would be telling him this, like, hey, calm down, don't talk like this. But it makes sense that Matthew Lillard was the killer of the entire film.
I think people will say that, like, you know, Skeet Ulrich in particular is not doing a great job in acting certain scenes earlier in the film. And I would argue that I think he's so consistent because who he is at the end of the movie is who he is throughout the whole movie. He's just only letting parts of it out. And I think it's very selective. And I think it's very much there to like throw Sydney off and lure her into his trap of thinking that he is the killer just so that he can try and prove he's not the killer by creating an alibi. I think he makes all those moves very selectively. This is written in the script, but I think Skeet Ulrich is still the character he is when he reveals how unhinged and insane he is. And he's that throughout the whole movie. He's just that in different doses. And I think that's why the performance is so good, is because he is truly that character consistently throughout the film. It is kind of like, it's very obvious that it's there, but they give you just the right amount in the script to kind of trick you into thinking that Billy might just not be it. Also, what a revelation it was that there was not one killer, but 2.
Yeah.
I wanted to bring that up because one of the things that I like about the Scream franchise as a whole is that it's actually not afraid to be predictable, but it's also adds the second killer angle to the first film to say, yeah, it was who you think, but also it was this. So it adds that layer of unpredictability to a predictable setting, because there's billions of slasher movies. Like, someone's gonna figure this out, but because there's billions of slasher films, we're not going to figure out the second killer. We're not looking for him.
And this being like a meta deconstruction of what a slasher movie is. Like, I mean, you literally have Randy saying, like, here's all the rules of the movie we're currently in, what we can't do. Like, we have Sydney going like, why don't you just run out the front door instead of go up the stairs? That's so stupid, or whatever, right? And then that exact thing happens to her because her front door got locked and she can't get out in time, so she has to run up the stairs. And I'm like, they know what movie they're making. They want to make a quote unquote traditional slasher movie. They can also make fun of the genre at the same time.
Right.
You can make a great version of a movie while also making fun of the trappings of it, which is all the entirety of what Scream is about.
And sorry, real quick. I appreciate like what you were saying, Brandon, because like it like a murder mystery movie, the clues are there in the sense that like these characters are so consistently the killers throughout the whole film. Like, you can really see it in every moment with them prior to once you know. One of the standouts for me that I didn't catch until like the 6th or something time I saw Scream, it was some amount of times into seeing it, is that Stu. And it's funny because they throw you off entirely from it happening, but Stu tells Tatum to go get him a beer.
Yeah.
Then immediately after he says that, she's like, you go get a beer. And then Gail comes in and they have the whole interaction with her and Dewey about Gail coming into the party and everything. And that happens. Then Tatum goes to the garage. You almost entirely forget that Stu told her to go do it. And he set her up to get killed.
Yeah.
It's there, but it's just not too obvious.
Also, who puts a cat door on a garage door?
Someone who wants a death scene where a girl is pulled up by a garage door until she's smushed.
I'm just saying, I don't think that house exists unless it's in this specific movie, and that's really funny.
There are some really gnarly kills in this movie.
Sure.
Like, I really like the fact that, like, I think Sparks is probably right about this film as a masterpiece. I think Wes Craven felt really free to do this movie. He was, he did we've talked the praises to death of Freddy's New Nightmare, or Wes Craven's New Nightmare. Excellent movie. Definitely what he was playing with, what we get to see in Scream. He's knocking at that door in Wes Craven's New Nightmare. Absolutely. And then he goes further with it in Scream. Like, he was primed for this movie. He wanted this movie, and he puts so much of himself and what he personally thinks into this movie, and it works because of that.
And full credit to Kevin Williamson, who also works on making these films with Wes Craven. He's the other half of the coin that makes these films work. I don't want to outshine that. Like, Wes Craven has the overall umbrella on screen for sure, but Kevin Williamson is instrumental to why these films have worked. Why Sydney and the others are such compelling characters who you want to keep revisiting. Nev Campbell gives a really great performance. I don't mean that ironically. I mean that sincerely. I think that one of the smartest interactions and like moments for her acting in the film is this bit where she's in the bathroom and the other girls are talking about her mom, and they are ludicrous, like absolutely insanely up energy. Like, it's not a bad scene, but it is like very, very like, holy shit, we are just going for the meanness and cruelty of what these girls are saying. But she is hiding in a stall, and it's just a close shot on her, subtle acting to what they are saying about her mom and what that means about her. And I think she's so good at being this person who has so many things thought about her already. Sydney, even before Ghostface comes along, is living a life where everyone already has these expectations and judgments about what kind of person she is and who she is, and constantly wanting to put her in the place of being a victim. She is predetermined a victim because of her mom being killed, and that's pretty much it. And one could even argue before that because of people talking about her mom being a slut. Yeah. So like, she's been in this position forever. And I think that it's really, really good that this again being a sea change, that she is this person who is given the strength and will to want to actively fight Ghostface.
She's a fighter.
Yeah.
The costume, so simple, so wonderful, so iconic, because it is it is in the narrative of the film a widely released Halloween costume that anybody can pick up anywhere. Father Death, that's the one. And like that's I mean, and now we have that as Ghostface, but like the idea of like throwing you off the scent of like who the killer could be, because like it's the Spider-Man thing. It can be anyone. It like there's only one person who could be Michael Myers, and there's only one person who could be Jason Voorhees. There's anybody can put on that mask and be Ghostface.
Yeah, sure. He's horror Spider-Man.
Yeah, he's the Spider-Man.
Horror Spider-Man. With great power comes great responsibility.
Dewey, I forgot how incredible David Arquette is as Dewey.
Yeah.
The big little cop who could, he's 25 years old, but he's 14.
I was 24 for a whole year.
Yeah, that's probably my favorite line. Like Gale's demographics like 11 to 24, and he's like, I'm 25, but I was 24 a whole year.
The other thing that's really funny about it is because it's Gale trying to take advantage of what she perceives as a dumb cop, and like having the opportunity, and also being immediately charmed by him the way she just wasn't ready for.
Cannot help it.
I was immediately waiting for, like, after every interaction that Gale had with Dewey in the very beginning, I was thinking, okay, she's just pulling on the charm, batting her eyes at this cop who is a little bit, he's a bit of an idiot. You love him, but he's kind of stupid. And then like when she's like, no, I actually care about this guy, I'm like, really? Huh?
Because I think like Gale, especially at this time in her life, she's like pawn scum. She's awful. So the fact that she keeps someone who is so like unbelievably real and just like, you're so innocent. Oh my god, she's like endeared to him. Like they are polar opposite people and on opposite tracks. And then over the course of the show, like they balance each other out, but while still being Gale's still a bitch in the next movies, right? Like that doesn't change.
Actually,
but her heart goes softer.
I want to talk about that once we get to the next movie, because I actually really like what they did in the second one. Because I was thinking that once we go from Scream 1 to Scream 2, I was thinking the complete opposite was going to happen.
We'll get into that in just a moment.
Yeah.
I think what's so great about Dewey is that there's a moment where the movie wants you to think maybe he's the killer, and then it's like, nah.
Not Dewey.
It's not Dewey.
Not Dewey.
I think that's really funny because there's when she opens the door and he's got the mask, and like you're like, oh, is it Dewey? And then it's like, nah, it's not Dewey. And I think David Arquette has such a great role in this movie, because there's a sense of innocence to Dewey in a way that none of the other characters have. He just wants to. He's young. He's learning. Ben called him an idiot. That's not true. He's inexperienced. I think David Arquette walks that line brilliantly. Of everyone thinks he's an idiot, but he's not. He's just an experience, and he's learning. And he learns throughout the movie, and he continually learns throughout the franchise.
And honestly, like the truth be told of the Scream franchise, why do Gale and Dewey have such good chemistry? It's because they got together in real life. Yeah. Like the chemistry was real for them, and so that's also part of what adds to those two just like having the charm and working off each other. It makes you endeared to that relationship at the core of this franchise, which is really cute.
Yeah.
Lot
of murder. Obviously, when Dewey gets he stumbles out of the house and you see the knife in his back, and I knew he'd survive, but I'm like, no, I'm not doing.
Yeah,
thank God he survived.
Yeah.
Dewey twice. He gets stabbed in the same place in the second movie.
Oh my God, the scar tissue saved him. Brilliant. Love it.
I'm gonna go through a couple of notes here.
Bring them back.
Ryan noticed it for the first time, I think, that in the opening there is a slow guitar of "Don't Fear the Reaper."
Yeah.
For Billy's first scene with
Sydney.
Yeah,
when Billy climbs into her room, like a really like what the I'm blanking on the word.
Acoustic.
Acoustic. Thank you. I had a brain fart. Acoustic version of "Don't Fear the Reaper," and I'm like, wow, this is incredibly sinister now that I know.
Yeah.
Oh my God, brilliant choice. The music, especially the pop music choices, are really good in both of these two movies.
But it's no mistake that like the first major needle drop moment you get is this "Don't Fear the Reaper" cover, because this movie is paying homage directly to Halloween 1978. It is a major, major milestone inspiration for how Scream comes about, the movie that it is not necessarily making fun of, but picking apart in terms of modern sensibilities for the genre at the time. And I think that's really, really good. Obviously, that comes full circle in the end because Halloween, the original, is featured prominently for the third act.
Yes,
to
it
the
is.
point where I think this is so cool. It's not jumping around. The movie is accurately running in real time of when the events are supposed to be happening. So you're getting these sound effects that are being timed for the things that are happening in the film. So it's almost working as the film's new score. But they haven't altered where the film is running in time. They're letting things play out.
That's what I noticed this time around because it's so interesting. There's a moment where like Ghostface is stalking and we hear dun dun, and it's the Halloween soundtrack playing as the soundtrack of the movie, but it's not. It's on the TV. I think that's so cool. I looked at it, I was like, that's brilliant.
Yeah, there's a scene where, because I was like, what's going on? And it's when Jamie Lee Curtis is in the closet and she's getting attacked by Michael. And
you're hearing the sounds.
And you're hearing the sounds, and I'm like, man, this is really clever. It's very clever.
Yeah. I think the interweaving and like it's both paying tribute, but like taking from and functionally using parts of Halloween 1978 as its own music background, I think is so smart.
Yeah.
Mag brought up the opening with Drew Barrymore being iconic. Yes, absolutely. We did touch on it a little.
The
earlier.
Voice, the Ghostface voice.
Oh yeah.
I like iconic with capital I.
Yeah.
Like I think that is like I want to buy one of those things. I'm sure they exist now. Whatever the guy who does that voice. He's set for life. He's so good.
I could have swore that was Steve Bloom when I first heard it.
Definitely. Nah, no Bloom.
You know what? I actually, I get it. Yeah. There's a Steve Bloominess to that voice.
Oh, he's got the rasp. Oh yeah.
But what the thing that I think that Scream does so well is that everyman kind of horror of like. This could literally be anyone, and like watching the movie back after seeing it for the first time, it's pretty obvious that Billy's the killer. But it literally could have been anyone in that cast outside of Neve Campbell. Like it could have been Dewey, it could have been Randy, it could have been the dad. Like there is no reason, and like it's because it's not their actual voice, and it's covered from head to toe.
Roger Jackson is the name of the voice actor who plays the voice of Ghostface in the entire Scream franchise.
Great voice.
Except for Scream season 1?
Yeah, okay, I just meant the movies.
Yeah.
Yes, except for Scream season 1 and 2.
I should watch that. There's 2 seasons? There's 2 seasons of that show?
There are 3 seasons of Scream.
I might try to watch those before Screevy comes out.
Yeah, I guess, sure.
Maybe the last 2 seasons?
Huh?
The last 2 seasons you said were pretty good.
No, that's inaccurate. I said the last season was terrible. The first season was pretty good, and the second season was also pretty good until it got to the reveal of the killer, which made absolutely no sense whatsoever.
Well, is it streaming anywhere? Maybe. We'll see.
It's on Netflix. Let's see. We talked about that. I love also going back to the bathroom scene. I also love that it is never made clear if that was even Stu or Billy, because it probably wasn't. It was probably a kid messing around, being in the Ghostface costume.
Yeah,
like we never find out one way or another, and it's one of the reasons why Sid's not even going to bother trying to tell an adult or a teacher right there. She's just going to run because for all she knows that kids are running around in the outfits and everything. She's already seen it, and she just got in egg on her face for fingering Billy at being wrong.
Yeah.
So I love that. I love that detail is there because like there's no reason for us to believe that was Billy or Stu.
Those big boots.
Mag has a comment that's confusing me. Real quickly, Ben, if you want to pull that up. Not even a Blumhouse reference. I don't believe Blumhouse was around when this movie was released.
Joking.
Okay.
Blumhouse now helps make those, right?
I think so. I think they made Scream 5 and 6.
Yeah, I think he's joking.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts on
I'm looking at
one cream?
One cream?
One cream?
Tatum is to this point, I'm pretty sure, but we're going to go through the movie, so I'll remember one way or another, but I'm pretty sure she's the only person who refers to the killer as Ghostface. I don't think that anyone else ever in the films refers to the outfit as Ghostface. They just call it the Killer. We, as fans, call them Ghostface, but that moniker comes from Tatum.
Oh, real quickly, sorry. Blumhouse does not produce Scream 5 and 6 because they're produced by Paramount, not Universal.
I didn't. Yeah, that's what I thought.
Paramount.
Randy's iconic.
Real quickly. I'm so sorry, Sparks.
No, go ahead.
Paramount.
Randy's iconic monologue about the rules.
I'll be back.
Yeah,
that's an incredible scene.
That
scene lives in infamy.
I forgot how intricate actually like the whole plot of the mom being killed by Billy and Stu because Billy's dad was having an affair with Nev's mom, Sydney's mom, which made his mom get abandon him. Which stuff that happens in Scream 2 is crazy. Right. I love how just like stupid and like nonsensical. I love it.
Also, a super important point to touch on is the very clear subtextual homoeroticism between Randy and not Randy and between Stu and
they
Billy.
even say that in the second movie.
It's very much there.
Billy
definitely did it at least once.
Billy is very angry about it and Stu is not.
Right. You definitely get the feeling like Stu's bisexual hardcore.
Oh yeah.
And Billy, well, we don't know. Maybe he just needed Stu.
He's horny for murder.
Yeah. But it's definitely there. Like you see it more than once. The way that Stu will put himself around the backs of other guys. He does it to Randy in the video store. And he does it most prominently to Billy in the reveal scene. And he gets right up behind them. Song Red Right Hand, one of Craven's favorites, associated with the franchise from here on.
Yeah, used multiple times in the second movie. Oh yeah.
I think that's really great. I love Randy's scene in the video store. Especially
oh my god, he's so loud.
There's always a good reason to kill your girlfriend, and then like there's a woman
in the back
behind him who just like looks up and she's like,
she does a no face and runs out
and leaves.
Really good, really good.
Super good.
I forgot how. Script's so good. Script is.
I remember what I was going to say. I've been trying to figure it out for a while. There's a prevalent conversation going on for most of our lives about how media influences violence, and many people were saying, no, it doesn't. And so, like Wes Craven has it in this movie. Yes, these are film fans who are also psychotic, but the films were not the reason why they're psychotic. Because they have that whole line. It's like, no, movies don't create serial killers. Movies make serial killers more clever.
More creative.
More creative.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll get to the second movie, which is really funny.
It is its own idea of how media and violence kind of interweave themselves. Especially, I think Scream 2 has a lot more that it wants to chew on about that concept than this one.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, like when you are making a meta-textual comment on horror films as a whole, it's going to come up like how that relates to the killers themselves being affected by it and wanting to do this. Especially Stu's like terminology of saying like you got to have the sequel, all that kind of stuff. It's a good plan. It's a good reveal of all the pieces of what they were doing, and they're foiled by being human. It's one of my favorite things about Ghostface. It's why I love watching these films, is that he's so fallible. Ghostface as a killer can be tripped up, can be knocked out, can be beaten up. I really love it.
It happens all the time.
I think it makes it more tense because it feels more like it can happen.
Yeah.
And I really enjoy that aspect of it.
Scream 2?
Hold on. Sorry, I had just a little bit more. Oh, the reliance that Billy and Stu have, the absolute certainty they have that the rest of the guys from the high school who are still left at the party are going to be so callous about hearing the principal was strung up on the goalposts that they're going to leave the party. They were like, when we need everyone to clear out, that's when the phone call will come through, letting them know that the principal was strung up on the goalpost. What timing.
I love that like 5 drunk teenagers are gonna like, let's go drive to a crime scene while we're under the age intoxicated.
Yeah.
Sounds smart to me.
Right. But they want to see him. It's sick and gross.
My final the Randy scene where he dies, but it's 30 seconds behind on the cameraman's box. So like, they're like, kid, get out of there, get out of the way. Oh wait, it's on 30 second delay.
You want to talk about the Jamie? Jamie, turn around.
Oh my god, that is
Turn
so
around,
funny.
Jamie.
So this actor's name is Jamie Kennedy. So he's talking about himself in the movie where he's about to die.
While watching
Jamie
Lee
Lee
Curtis.
Incredible. You, Wes Craven, you beautiful man.
You rest in peace, sir.
The drunk driving teens leads to one of my favorite lines in the film, which is Gail pointing over and saying, "Is that what you've been looking for?" And Dewey staring at her saying, "My whole life," which is the most young Anakin energy.
Oh my god, you're right
for this ever.
You are so right.
My whole life.
Oh my god, he's gonna feed her like a space pear next.
Are you an angel? Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I think the cast is great. The performances are great. The score is great.
Yeah.
The cinematography is awesome. The editing is pretty sharp. There's a couple of things that I don't think have aged so well in our very 90s, but overall, it's still just like, even as a product of its time, as Mag brought up, like being limited by the technology they had at the time, like having to use the computer to try and call 911 when the landline wasn't working.
I love it.
What a great little film. I love it so much. Ben, what would you rate it?
Probably an 8.5 or a 9.
Yeah. Pick one. I'm just kidding. I would give it a 10. I think this movie is like almost flawless.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think now that I've watched this 1 and 2, and I've most recently seen 5, I think the first one is probably going to end up being my favorite. Maybe Scream 6 if that movie is as cool as it is and is inventive and being like a new city. But Scream 1,
the original.
It's perfect. It's just like it's almost perfect. I think it's incredible.
Do we all rate it? Let's see.
Yeah, we all rate it.
No, only 3 of us.
I think I'm leaning toward a 9.
Oh yeah, baby.
I think I like it. I think I live in a 9 area.
That's even higher than you put on Letterboxd this week, so that's awesome.
I changed it. I don't know if you saw. I changed it.
Hey, I love it.
Well, I made it. I made a 4.5 star.
Yeah, that's a 9.
Yeah, it's a 9.
I love it. It's a 10. I wondered if like on this another viewing, would I reassess and take it down? And I am saying, nay, sir, man. It is a 10.
It's a classic. This is a classic.
You can't stop it. All right, let's go to Scream 2.
Scream.
Just Scream 2. They didn't do weird stuff for this one.
Let me imagine. So Jada Pinkett Smith is the star of this movie, just like Drew Barrymore was the star of the first movie.
Her and Omar Epps.
Yeah, they are. Jada Pinkett Smith is on like the box art of like the DVD thing, like when you turn it on, and I'm like, she's in this movie.
The most insane movie theater audience ever.
Man, we've seen Endgame together.
On the line of I don't even really want to see this movie. I just want to stand in a room with a mask and a fake knife and scream.
See, here's the thing: like those types of theater experiences happen for like Rocky Horror Picture Show or like The Room. It's not for opening night of a movie. Because like I can't hear what the movie's saying.
Right.
It's a preview screening. It's a preview screening for a movie that is the first in a franchise.
That is based on a true story of murders.
And so, like, to have that packed of a theater with everyone just like, yeah, I'm gonna run around and stab people with my fake knife is wild.
The hype was too real, man. The stab universe, the Scream universe.
People show up in a passionate fervor for Heather Graham, Tori Spelling, and Luke Wilson. Let me tell you.
Oh my God, Luke Wilson!
Did you know that Robert Rodriguez filmed those?
Huh?
Robert Rodriguez filmed those scenes.
Yeah, I love it. It's so good.
Incredible.
It's so good. Man,
Scream 2. I don't think it's as good as Scream, but boy howdy, it is a great movie. It is almost a perfect sequel. I don't have a lot of issues with it either. It's just not as tight because it's a sequel trying to do bigger things. It's more chaotic, and I love it for it. I love who our villains are for this movie. I love them.
I honestly, I go back and forth every time I watch it. I'm like, is Scream 2 my favorite? Is it Scream? Is it Scream 2?
The thing is, it's trying to say I like because it's just trying to do more than the first movie. So like I like what it's trying to say and how funny it is, and it continues to be really funny. And Timothy Olyphant, funnier, and Timothy Olyphant is so good.
Dewey evolves completely into a Twin Peaks character.
Dude, he gets his own
living
theme
in the
song
Scream universe.
with like he's so Dale Cooper in this movie, like young Dale Cooper from Twin Peaks. The stuff with him and Gale, I love. Again, like the soundtrack is like amped up, so there's like more pop and stuff. Everything is kind of ramped up a little bit because that's what a sequel does.
After 5, and what 5 does with Dewey, which I won't spoil for Ben. I was thinking, like, has Dewey just always been my favorite character?
Mhm.
And then watching Scream 1 and 2 back to back, I was like, oh shit, Dewey has always been my favorite character.
He's great.
Dewey's great.
Yeah.
I really like watching him evolve. Again, going back to like what the thing of like he's inexperienced. He's learned from that thing of like, and that's the thing about watching what Scream is so unique. What makes Scream so unique is that it has had most of the same core cast since the first film, and we've seen them grow and we've seen them evolve. And every movie doesn't revert their characters back; that evolves their characters in new ways. Gail's arc in this film, at first glance, is a repeat of her arc in the first film, but then you realize that she reverted back to that person, and then when she puts down that wall, the character development picks up from where it was in the first film, and she progresses even further.
Once we get introduced to Debbie Salt, and then that's the Gail of this movie.
Yeah,
Gail's like, oh, this is what I'm like. This is what I am to other people. This sucks. And Gail starts to become a better person. Because she realizes, oh wow, maybe this isn't the way I'm supposed to do things.
That and being reunited with Dewey.
Yeah. Her true love.
Ben, give me some overall takes on Scream 2. How you felt?
Also, really enjoyed it. What I really like about Scream 2 is that it definitely takes the lessons learned from the first film and applies them, but then they have to create more things to get around it. Like Sydney, obviously, she gets a bunch of phone calls from people asking who what her favorite scary movie is. She has a little phone ID thing. She's still she's not very trustworthy. She still keeps people at arm's length, like her boyfriend, who, when all the murders start happening, she keeps him away, and he's like, I'm going to be there to support you, but at the same time, you need space. Like when he says, and I'm supposed to be understanding, she's like, yeah. He's like, okay, I will be. And he just doesn't cause a fight, doesn't cause a scene. I mean,
that's a good boyfriend.
That is a very good boyfriend. And also one of the things I really like is how they handle Gail and Dewey, because when you see Gail for the first time, she's like, okay, she's famous. She has a bunch of money now because of her book. The film is hitting up. She's kind of bitchy. But then when Dewey comes in on the scene and he sees Gail, I'm thinking, oh no, did she dump him? And he's just like a stray little puppy dog. In fact, it was kind of the reverse. I get the feeling that he was the one who said no when this isn't working. Or he said, no, if I'm not going to be in your life, and then I'm gone, while Gail goes to do all this famous stuff. And when he talks to Gail, he's not like, Gail, I miss you. Please take him back. He's like, no, I remember what you did. If
I may, I think a totally valid reading of this film is also that maybe they just didn't give it an honest try. That they just were never really a couple, and Dewey was just kind of like, what are we? Nothing.
I think Gail, like there was something there, but Gail got famous and swept up in that and left. She left Woodsboro, and Dewey didn't. Dewey was recovering. And then her book comes out, and then this is when he sees her again, and he's like, yeah, you kind of feel like you used me. Oh, which was her initial intent, but we know that there was something real there.
And then she even says some not so nice things about him in her book. He quotes the page about how she calls him like
page 42.
I love that so much.
He's like, look, I read your book because I wanted to support you, but at the same time, I see what you thought about me. So I'm like, no, I don't want this.
Yeah. The new cast in this is great. Like our returning cast is obviously still great, but like Mag brings up Sarah Michelle Gellar, shows up for a little bit. She's one of our random teens who gets murdered here, or no, not teens anymore. They're in college. The guy. Real quick, the fun thing about this movie is, despite this coming out less than a year from Scream 1, this takes place years after Scream 1, which is really cool. She's in college now, and I'm like, oh, that's fun.
There's a cameo in the first film, in the second film, that's I thought this guy would be a bigger role, because it's the guy from Fringe,
Justin Johnson.
George, sorry, man.
We know who you're talking about.
Yeah, he's in it.
What
is it?
Joshua Jackson.
He's in it for only that scene that Mag is talking about, which is his favorite scene. And I was like, oh, he's in this too. No, he's not. He's just in that scene.
Yeah, Dawson's Creek wasn't big yet, so he wasn't big yet.
Yeah. You should have waited a year.
But Sarah Michelle Gellar was surprised. I forgot that she was in this. I forgot about her boyfriend too.
Jerry O'Connell.
Thank you.
Yeah, Timothy Oliphant.
I love
Mickey.
He is so like weird. He's such a weird guy in this movie.
Portia de Rossi as the sister, the sorority sister.
Yeah, her. And,
oh my god, I forgot that was Portia de Rossi.
Her friend, also Rebecca Gayheart, who was also
a
big '90s lady. I forgot. Like, man, like all of these movies are just filled with young actors. Go
ahead. No, please.
Well, I was just gonna say this film is bigger, but it's also funnier. There's a lot of really funny lines. I think Nev Campbell really settles into the Sydney character, who the Sydney character will be from now on in this film. This kind of like fed upness of like, I've been through this already. You're not gonna get away with this, blah blah blah. She's got that kind of confidence of like, I'm not going to be the final girl anymore. I'm going to be, and real quickly, my final thought on that is just that like, she also delivers some truly great lines. There's a line at the end of this film, which I wrote down. I was like, when it's revealed that this is Mrs. Loomis, the mother, and Gail's like, no, it can't be. I've seen pictures of you. And she's like, yeah, this is 60 pounds and a lot of work later. This is really funny.
No, I really love Sydney's arc through this film. It's one of the reasons why I almost put Scream 2 over the original so many times, is because I think Sid's arc is not only really good, but a rarity in a horror movie where you are getting this person who was the final girl, and she is actively dealing with the idea of trying to live a normal life after that, and trying to move away from her trauma, and for a portion of the film kind of having a back and forth of facing it or running away from it, until she makes the decision, I'm going to face it. And I think that's really, really good. I love the idea, again, of like going back to this character who has been made into a victim for much of her life and trying to move on from that, and then having to say like, I will just actively not be that victim. Like, you won't get to play these games with me. Nev
Campbell is so good in that first movie, but it is a much more reserved role. Like, she is playing like the teenage final girl. She is like hardcore in this one. Nev Campbell is so good, in all these movies, but like this one, oh, she's a superstar. She's an actor. And again, she's really good in the first, but like, man, like she's bringing it in this one, and she brings it for the rest of the franchise too. And it is right. Like, it would have been such a bummer to have her just be in the same role. Like, oh, I'm still innocent. All these bad things have happened to me. Like, no, girl, take charge. Hell yeah.
It's one of the reasons I love the entire like theater scene so much, which is her talking about dropping out of the play and him being like part of the reason you're perfect for this is because you have faced this.
Yeah.
So go and face it and like
use it.
Her trying out, like, that's just a genius scene, this like the Greek faces and everything
spooky.
With the knives, and it's like, man, this is going to be really triggering for you, here we go. And again, another like kind of like the bathroom scene, there's no concrete information to tell us that absolutely Mickey or Mrs. Loomis were in that room.
That could have been a hallucination.
Now I will say, you can very clearly see if you're watching the shot closely where Ghostface steps away and moves another person into the spot. But I don't know entirely if that's just because you can see it, or you were supposed to see it. Because I do think that it's supposed to be like the bathroom scene where you're supposed to be ambiguous. Not entirely sure, was Ghostface there or was Ghostface just in her head?
Yeah.
And I really, really like that. I really like the idea of it just triggering her trauma and that being part of what she has to overcome in this film, that sometimes Ghostface isn't even there, but she's seeing him. And I think that's really, really good.
Ben, did you there's no way you could have predicted Mrs. Loomis as the killer, but did you predict that Timothy Oliphant was the killer? Because he disappears pretty quickly into the movie.
He does, and when Timothy Oliphant reveals himself to be the killer, I was like, I should have saw this coming, because I completely forgot. I was too focused on the boyfriend. I was too focused on like even the camera guy. For a second, I was suspecting the camera guy because he leaves, and then like he kills, and
then Randy dies.
Like Randy dies in the camera van. So I'm like, oh shit, is the camera guy? Is he?
Both films are really
in the movie.
Both films are really good at making a character leave a scene and then killing a character and then having the character return to the scene.
Yeah.
And it's not always the same character each time it happens, which I think is really, really cool. That guy is like quickly disavowed of being the killer because he faints in a very convincing manner of just like, oh
yeah. I love that character because he's like, okay, so I found out that the guy before he got gutted, he got murdered.
Well, he didn't get gutted. He got his throat slit, and he's like, he ain't in the union anymore.
He's not in the union anymore. It's such a good line. And then that dude bails. He bails, and that's so smart. And then
he comes back.
After everything's done, so he can get some credit for it.
Let's do this like the old days.
So smart. Oh my god, brilliant! I love that.
I had remembered. Sorry, I had remembered that the reporter that what's the real name of Mrs. Loomis? Not the real name.
First name.
What's your last name?
Loomis.
No. Sorry, I didn't mean
Debbie
real
Salt.
name. Debbie Salt. Thank you. I remembered Debbie Salt as the villain, as one of the killers, but I couldn't remember who the second killer was, and I was going back and forth between Jerry O'Connell and Timothy Oliphant. And I was like, it's definitely one of those two. So it's kind of fun when you don't see a movie for so long, you kind of only half remember it. And it still surprises you.
So I haven't seen Scream 2 in a while. And the only reason I remember Timothy Oliphant was a killer because I see the gif of him doing the Frankenstein getting up and getting shot 20 times because that is a hilarious scene. He just like gets up. But yeah, I completely also forgot that Mrs. Loomis was the killer. So I see Debbie Salt and I'm like, this bitch, she's just trying to be the next Gail Weathers. And I'm like, oh my god, it's perfectly sane, reasonable Mrs. Loomis.
So what I was gonna say is Timothy Oliphant is so good as Mickey. What I love is the film does such a good job of making you feel like you are walking back down that Billy Loomis path with Jerry O'Connell. Like you are going to go down that road again, and they're really trying to drive you in that direction. Like, oh man, it's really gonna suck. It sucks that this is the way Sid has to live her life, and so much so because Sid is convinced that that's also true. Sorry, hold on.
We got cats and doors, doors and cats.
What's going on?
The cats are just being super inconsistent tonight, where they want to be inside, outside, inside, outside. Anyway, but we're trying to keep it shut to not make so much noise. Anyway, so you are constantly thinking, oh no, she's going to go through the boyfriend thing again. And then when you get the Mickey reveal and he says, it's okay, Derek, we got her. And it's like, oh no. And he's sitting there and you're like, I really believe that he's not it because he's trying to plead to Sid that it's not
He's
him.
lying.
It's such a brutal shot when he gets shot. It's honestly like really gnarly where he gets shot and he
like where Jesus got stabbed.
She rushes over to try to cover the wound, and because she's like, oh my god, I was wrong. I shouldn't have doubted it because he loved her so much.
Yeah, and again, being a sequel, like the kills are more brutal. I think the most brutal one is Dewey's.
No. The most brutal one is 100% the cop who's sitting on the front of the car and gets smashed in with the pipe going through his head.
Yeah.
Because you see his head moving around afterwards.
Yeah.
No, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
I think the most emotional that I will say.
Sure. That's
again, even though Dewey survives.
That's the thing of like, so Mag has a comment here, Ben, if you can bring that up. I can see why Randy had to be killed because he would have been a foil to the killer, or couldn't keep up character development than the rest. I don't disagree with that, but also it's a really effective kill because you do kind of wonder, like, okay, well, we're in a sequel territory. Who's safe? Or how much are we franchising this? And Randy was a fan favorite character from the first film, and to kill him off almost halfway through the movie, at the end of what is essentially a really hilarious kind of Scooby-Doo riff of Gale and Dewey just tackling teenagers.
Yeah. I think Randy goes out sad. I think that's a pretty sad setup for his death. Mostly because I like Randy as a character, so I think that's harsh. And for a long time, that held me back on putting Scream 2 on the quality level film that I think it is, because I was like, they killed Randy and they did it stupid. And I'm more okay with it these days because I think it was the right call. I think that you needed to kill Randy because I think that that's the direction that character needed to go in. I think you were going to neuter some amount of development for the other characters if we were constantly having Randy talk about the rules. And Randy was the one who I felt like wasn't allowed to grow the least because he was still being lovelorn over Sid.
Yes.
And if the end game isn't him getting together with Sid, then he's got to move forward from that.
Yeah.
So I think killing him was the right call, and also doing it while the audience still loves him is the right call before he overstays his welcome.
Also, his little soul patch goatee thing was awful.
And just like you said, Brandon, it makes the other characters feel like we could lose any of them at any time.
We got stakes.
Yeah, I think that's right. But the other one I'm less okay with is that Elise Neal's Hallie goes out sad.
Her roommate.
And I feel bad for her.
She just gets jumped.
Hallie should have gone out better if she had to go out at all. I kind of wish at this point in my life, I'm like, she should have stuck around for at least one more movie. They should have kept her around.
Yeah.
It sucks. I think that's a shitty death. I think that's a shitty setup. I like the action scene of the car stuff and the tension of them getting out of the car scene.
That's a great scene.
But her just like, it's good that Sid decides that, I want to face this. I want to stop running. But like just having her stand over there by the thing. And it's like somehow Ghostface got around to that corner.
All the way around.
And then pops out and gets her. And I'm like, come on, man.
Yeah.
She was the one who said to run. Like, find a different moment to kill her. She went out too sad. I think she doesn't get a lot of lip service, but I think she's an important, like, grounded friend for Sid. That it's worthwhile to have her there.
A good supporting friend.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it's really, that's the only kill where I was kind of like, how'd Ghostface do that? Because it's just Timothy Oliphant at that moment, and where it's implied to be that one because he's beaten up already when he takes off the mask.
Right.
So if it's just him, you don't have the excuse of, well, the other killer was there and that's how he got around so quickly.
I'm trying to track in my brain how they would have missed him. And I'm like, there's just no way. There's no way he could have got over there.
Right. Especially because like the thing is like, sure, Sydney's facing away from the car, but Hallie isn't.
No.
Yeah.
And like you can do suspension of disbelief, but it's to the degree where I'm like,
it's the one
should
where
Hallie
like,
maybe not have died here? Yeah. The answer is yes.
Or just make it way more creative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
because the tension of that scene is so wonderful, and you don't need to kill someone in that scene because it's just that tension there. And sorry, Ben's stretching was distracting. When I lost my point.
No, it's that first time I ever watched that scene with the car and everything. That is a true edge of your seat moment where I was just like the whole time like, oh God.
Yeah. Yeah.
Probably one of the best tension building scenes in the franchise.
It really is. It's a super good one. They did a really great job with that scene, especially like the thoughtfulness of the pipe going through just enough so that they could peel the back grate to get out of the cop car. The fact that it was a cop car and like it all organically fit in very well. I'm like, this was so well crafted. This is such an uncomfortable moment.
Going back to the Dewey kill, but before that, like hiding in what looks like almost like a maze of soundproof rooms, like going in between like corridors. Brilliant. And then she hides behind the glass and like Ghostface is stalking around,
so she can't hear Dewey.
Yeah, and I think again that is a incredible like kill scene because Gail is like Courtney Cox is like delivering a great performance, like seeing this guy get killed again, basically. The new love of her life again getting stabbed. It's brutal in the way it's like he gets up. He always cleans his blade. I love that. I don't know why. It's just like so sadistic. Like, hey, the next one.
One of the things that makes Ghostface such a fun killer is that there, is what Spark said. He's fallible. He can be tripped up. He can be found out. He can be knocked unconscious, and it makes a lot of tension scenes, but also a lot of comedy scenes. I think one of the funniest things in this movie is that he gets caught playing the tape when Gail and Dewey are about to have sex with the thing, and they see the tape and they look up, and then he's like, oh shit.
Yeah.
I think that's very funny.
Yeah, just like Ghostface, like no matter who it is, they're really clumsy and they love to murder. So like murder is their number one priority. So they become clumsy because they're so locked in on murder. And they will just run into anything. The amount of times Ghostface is like trapped behind a door and he's doing the arm thing. You've done like 6 times, my guy. You're not getting in. It's a good shot. I love it.
And another thing I love about the Ghostface killers is that you get to Sydney confronting them, the reveal at the end, and Sydney always makes them feel so pathetic. And like you're just nothing to me. Like you think you did all this and it's impressive and it isn't. I'm not afraid of you.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean shit. And I can't wait to talk about next week because like one of my favorite things about Scream 3 is the tear down of the killer in that one because holy shit, then you were in for it.
I'm
so excited.
I forgot. I wonder how I felt when I saw it when I was young, because I don't remember how I felt, but now that I'm where I am, I love Mrs. Loomis as a killer because that is like on paper it's so stupid. It is so dumb. This random throwaway character that's mentioned in the first movie. I just love how like her motive, it's rational to want revenge on the girl who killed your son. That's totally normal. I'm totally normal. I love that idea. And
she commits.
She's so good.
She's so committed that it's like this works because she is absolutely committed to her wide-eyed bullshit.
Yeah. And then picking up little Mickey, like the perfect little protege, wants to make the ultimate sequel. And I love it. Yeah, this like
and the teardown of Mickey from Mrs. Loomis when she kills him and she's just like, did you buy that court case thing for a second? Like, isn't that so stupid?
Yeah. Oh, his idea.
Mickey was quite a find, and he's like, yeah, just need a little funding, a little backing, serial killer in the making.
Oh yeah, she's like, yeah, on the internet, there's only like 76. Finding him on the internet was easy peasy. Like that's, I love it.
Going back to the beginning because we did breeze past it a little
bit.
Jada Pinkett Smith and Omar Epps' deaths are also pretty impressive.
Oh my god, I forgot that.
Pretty jarring and crazy to see. Specifically, like something I love is that once you know Timothy Olyphant is Mickey, if you go back and you watch the bathroom scene with Omar Epps, you listen closely, you can tell they recorded Timothy Olyphant saying these weird word salad that gets Omar Epps to lead in, and he's using this weird high-pitched voice, but it's very clearly Oliphant's actual voice, and I'm like, this is so goofy.
I forgot how like he puts all of his clothes on to sit back down with her.
Yeah.
I thought at first, I didn't realize, I thought she wasn't going to discover blood. It was that he was a white man. And I thought she was like hold his hand and like, wait a minute. The fact that the audience was going crazy and everyone is fake murdering their friends. So when she's actually getting murdered, no one pays attention.
Right.
And her
going up onto the screen.
Her guttural scream. Like it's so good. Like,
and then holding on her, laying there for a moment before we get the Scream 2 title.
There's a moment where she gets stabbed in the aisle and blood splatters onto the guy next to him, next to her, and he goes, and you just see the guy like, what
happened? Yeah,
great again, like hiring famous people to be in the opening of your movie to trick them. I really love it. It's always fun.
I also, this is the invention of the Stab franchise, which will be a remaining thing throughout the rest of the films. Very smart. Now they can meta comment on their own meta comment bullshit films of their own murders that they created that's happening in tandem and at the same time. And it really works for me. I think it's really funny.
Yeah. I'm so glad we're doing this. I forgot how good these movies are. And if like, again, it's been a while since I've seen Scream 3, but like if that is the quote unquote worst one, and then I have two more great movies after that, then this is an incredible franchise.
Yeah.
This is an incredible franchise.
And like Scream 3's the weakest for sure, but I don't think it's bad.
Yeah.
It's just like this is not on the level of the others. It just isn't.
But it's still like trying to be as creative and inventive and meta as the other ones. So like it's not like it's being lazy. It's not as good as the other ones.
We'll get into that next week for sure. I'm excited about it. There are some really interesting needle drops in this movie. I think specifically of like when we kill Sarah Michelle Gellar, we just focus on her dead body down there, and then it's just like playing teen party rock as he cleans the knife, and we move on to the next scene.
The thing that I really like about Ghostface as a killer once again is when we see him in the background being sneaky, it never looks menacing. It always looks silly.
Yeah.
Like when he like comes in through the door and he's just like, and it's just like
it never looks smooth.
They're not good at their jobs.
Then there's in the first one there's the zoom in into the bushes and it's the Bigfoot moment.
Yeah.
Really interesting.
Again, just like the first one, they do a great job in this film of I think Mickey and Mrs. Loomis are both consistent with who they reveal themselves to be at the end. They are those characters in the scenes that lead up to it. You can see the nuggets when you go back. You can see the things that they're doing that are leading into it. Specifically, I really love that these two moments are back to back. What happens is that Mrs. Loomis is trying to throw suspicion onto Dewey in front of the other reporters, and it immediately cuts to Mickey sitting down at a table with Derek and trying to throw suspicion onto Randy. And so they're both like tag teaming, getting both of them under the bus at the same time. And I was like, man, that's really smart when you know they're the killers. That it's like 1-2 punch right there. They're both throwing their old friends under the bus.
Work in multiple angles, to cover their bases.
Wasn't there a moment where she tries to throw speculation onto Cotton, where she's talking to Gale and is like, well, it just seems to me.
No, that's when she's talking about Dewey, and she says,
Dewey?
well, it just seems to me like if the killer is mimicking the murders from Woodsboro, then the killer might be from Woodsboro.
We haven't even talked about
Cotton Weary
yet.
is the thing that Gale gets onto. Yeah, Liev Schreiber comes back as Cotton Weary. Gale pulls her really bullshit move to thrust Sydney into a meeting again with him, which
Diane Sawyer
punched in the face.
One
again.
of the scene between Cotton and Sydney when he's trying to convince her to do the Diane Sawyer
library
thing, and he's like slowly getting more and more personal, and he's like doing like the the typical like aggressive male things you do, and I'm like, this is one of the most uncomfortable scenes I've ever seen. The way he touches her and he's like doing like his like fake laugh, I'm like, this is so menacing, but this man is innocent, but he's not acting like it.
He has this kind of thing about him, this chip on his shoulder, like I'm owed this fame because of what you did to me. And he's got, and like you think of, okay, the first time we see him, we're like, oh, okay, Gale's kind of stringing him around and he really just wants to move past this. And then very quickly throughout the movie, you realize he's not the killer, but the only thing he cares about is his fame, and he does not want to lose that.
And it's the only way you can get famous is to continue to talk about the thing you didn't do.
Yeah.
Like, is a weird way to get famous. Like, oh, I didn't kill someone here, I should be famous for it. And like that is how people chase fame. That does happen. It's just really gross. And like, luckily, like not luckily, but like Cotton is such an interesting character. Like by the end, like he is redeemed in a way. Like he is a good person who just, you need to chill out a little bit, bro. Don't be so aggressive. Yeah.
All right.
Let me see here. Luke Wilson, in particular, as Billy Loomis, is hilarious.
That was incredible. Tori Spelling, I love it. That hair.
I really, really love when Derek knows that Sydney's pushing him away, and he breaks into the "I think I love you," and Jerry O'Connell can do just the right amount of "I'm not very good at singing, but it's just passable enough."
Yeah.
To make it charming and sweet, and it's a nice moment with the Greek letters and everything. I think that's really cute.
Man, the late 90s were rife with this,
which again, really endears you to him, and it's at that scene that you're like, I really, really hope you're not the killer.
Yeah, he's really,
and it makes the ending all the more sad, and like poor Derek. Oh my god.
That kind of goes to the predictability and the unpredictability of the Scream franchise, is that he's playing. At this point, they're actively playing with what your expectations for the sequel are going to be through Randy, and a lot of time where he's like, it could be the boyfriend again, trying to recreate for the first movie, and so like you're playing with the idea. Wes Craven is playing with the idea that the audience has this in their mind already. They are slasher film fans. You're going to see this, and you're having this moment where like, well, it could be Jerry O'Connell. It could be he could be the killer in this one. Is that the predictable way to go? But it's so predictable, it could be unpredictable.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's like the whole thing of like, what's better than having a motive? Not having any motive of all. That's so Next Generation, isn't it? I'm like, God, these killers are so stupid. I love every single one of them.
What's the line? It's the millennium. You don't need a motive.
Yeah. Motives are overrated.
Yeah, exactly. I love it.
Circumstantial motives are circumstantial. I really like Dewey trying to look after Sid. That's why he shows up, and mentioning that if there is a new killer, then they're probably already in her life.
Yep.
I think that's really sharp. I like the way they introduce that, so you can start looking at your suspects immediately.
Yeah.
The repetition thing of the names of the victims was a fun little goofy touch.
Oh yeah, the killing the same names. Yeah.
Or like attributed names, like Stephen was in the last name instead of the first name, but it was still there. In the order that they were killed in the first one. I thought that was fun. But then after that, it goes away because they start just like having to kill people. And I really
they even
loved-
say killing Randy wasn't in the plan. He just pissed off Mrs. Loomis by making fun of
She
Billy.
insulted my boy, and I got a little knife happy.
Got a little knife happy.
She's so good. She's so good at being committed to exactly the killer that she is. I really love the scene where Randy and Dewey are running down the list of suspects, and like who could make sense. And Dewey's like, "So you think it's this?" And it's like, "Well, hold on there," and just throwing them out. It's like, "Well, if you're a suspect, I'm a suspect. Okay, let's move on."
Chemistry is great between everybody.
It really is. They're a really fun cast to watch. And then I love Sid turning the set against Mrs. Loomis at the end. Before Cotton shows up and helps her save the day.
Oh yeah,
I really love that. I love all the set pieces dropping down. And then just because I got to highlight, because I think it's just a really incredible stunt every time. The part where Gale gets shot on accident by Timothy Oliphant and flips down into the pit and flips the thing she's standing on with her so that there's no more bridge and Cotton has to hop over. And also so Mrs. Loomis can't run out of the stage when she's trapped. That stunt is amazing every time I see it, where like the thing like flips with her. I'm like, what an incredible stunt. It looks so good.
What did she say like when she's trying to get out of there? I can't remember, but she's like,
"Are you okay?" It's like, "No, I've been shot."
I've been shot.
There's this really interesting thing that happens in the Scream movies and especially in this one, when both Gale and Dewey are supposedly dead. And you have this thing, you have this relief that they're not. And it doesn't feel like you've been faked out. It feels like, oh, thank goodness. I was not ready to say goodbye to these characters. It would be, at this point, I think if Randy had a similar fake out, people would be relieved to see Randy alive. But Gale and Dewey having both these fake outs doesn't feel cheap. It feels like a gift to the audience. Like, actually, these characters you like are still alive.
Right.
Yeah. Again, like everybody, like the stakes are real for all the characters, and like you want all of your heroes to survive, but like nobody is safe except Sid.
Mag has a comment about Stu's interest in the franchise. It's the only time Stu gets referenced in the franchise being brain dead or in a comatose state that could be used in future Scream movies.
They say that? I don't remember that.
I didn't catch that. I didn't
catch it.
Meg, I don't know.
I believe you. I believe you because like that is a big prevailing theory right now that Screevy it is the mastermind Matthew Lillard 20 years later. Either that or it's a whole theater troupe.
This isn't going to give away 3. But there was he was contracted to return in 3, but they cut him out completely.
Yeah,
right.
he was going to be in 3, and
he's in this movie at the party, and you can find him if you want to.
Yeah, I heard about that. He's in the party.
Yes. Yeah,
it's twin brother Drew.
All right.
Yeah, I just think it's really, really good. I think it's a real good one.
Absolutely.
I like it a lot. I also rate this one a 10.
Hell yeah, I rate it a 9. I think it's very, 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 very good. Just obviously just not as tight. It's a sequel trying to do more, and it still does everything pretty great. 9.
Yeah, I'm saying it's a 9 as well.
8.5.
These are all good scores.
Solid.
Ben, good movies.
Ben, this was your first foray into Scream 2. You didn't get to say a lot about Scream 2 at the end there. You want any last thoughts on it?
Not really. I pretty much gave most of the thoughts I had. This is my first time seeing it, so like the more I'll see it, or the more I do watch it, I might have more to say about it. I know I had a few tiny little criticisms about Scream 2 and also even Scream 1, like how Henry Winkler, like Sydney's cop, when Sydney's being interviewed and he pulls her head up, I was like, "Hey, are you doing okay? You okay?" And the cops are like, nothing. Excuse me, nothing becomes of that.
He's dying.
Bloody hell.
Ben, are you okay? Can you hear me?
Get
Ben!
some water. Real quick, while Ben's drinking some water, Mag did point out that they give Scream 2 a 9.5. They also said earlier Scream is a 9 or a 9.5.
2 great movies.
I really do wish-wash on, like, is Scream 2 truly better to me than Scream 1? I think they're both really great.
I think it's like,
I'm so happy with
it. It honestly, like, depends on what you look. Are you looking for a little more, like, bombastic murder movie? Then 2 is your bet, you know? They're both great.
Two things real quickly. Ben?
Yes?
Are you excited to continue?
Sure. I like to see how
So
how else-
excited.
I'd like to see how these movies keep going forward. I was told that 3 is a bit of a dip, but 4, and 5 are really good, are decent slasher films.
I
And so
have
far,
seen Scream 3 times, and I have only remembered one of those times.
I've seen it once, so I'm excited because I saw it once, like as a teenager. I'm like, I don't need to see this ever again.
This is gonna be a wild week.
It's been
I'm so excited.
15 years, probably. I'm 31 now, so 16 years probably. God, since
do you remember who the killer is?
Once I see everyone in the movie, I probably will, but right now I can't tell you.
Sparks.
Yeah.
You might need to make that a Perfect 10 video soon.
The Perfect 10?
Yeah, if we all give something a 10, we play a video being like, hey, Perfect 10s.
Yeah, well, Scream didn't get it quite yet, so.
No. Well, I'm just saying, we might want to be prepared.
Sure.
Cool. Although I was the only one to put 5 Cream on their top 15s.
It's true.
Oh, no.
It's still a good movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
I love 5 Cream.
Me too. I love 5 of them.
I really like 5 Cream. I can't wait. Okay, so
this is a great time. I'm so pleased to be doing this. I'm so pleased to have been in the room with Ben because Ben joined us for these two. I'm so pleased to have seen Ben experience these. His reaction when Mrs. Loomis showed up was just chef's kiss wonderful. I was so happy.
Yeah.
And I'm really happy that we're doing this. So the episode is running late because we had the DC slate to talk about. I highly doubt the Scream 3 and 4 episode will go on nearly as long, but you are able to listen to this episode separately should you want to. Should we go into our book club?
Yes, let's do it.
Book it, Dano.
Before we move on, real quick, Brandon and Grayson, I am excited. I'm just tired right now.
Here, I got a dice. If you want to roll deception, what is that?
Actually, you know what? Fudge it. Why not? Let me roll deception. Let me get my D20 out real quick. Yep, there it is.
While Ben does that, Ben rolls because we've become a D&D pop culture.
I got 13.
Podcast. I don't know what that means. Okay, right. Ben, take it away.
So my book club, I remember picking up a certain Marvel book a long time ago, and I could have swore I read it for the podcast. Maybe I talked about it, but I remember reading it. And that book is Marvel's 1602 by Neil Gaiman. Now that's not the book club for this show. The book club is going back to the 1602 era with Fantastic Four 1602, written by Peter David, drawn by Pascal Alixe, and inked by John Livesey. And I just wanted to go back because I really enjoyed Marvel 1602. For those of you who do not know, Marvel 1602 is essentially the Marvel universe, but placed in the year 1602, where it's Victorian era, it's old timey. James I is king of England, and you see all your favorite Marvel characters as people living in this era of Europe,
of people hating women and being racist.
Woo!
Yeah, I was not expecting that when I picked up this when I started reading this.
Man.
So
Peter David.
Yeah, so what do you guys think of this? Because even I have to admit, at first I was like kind of excited. I was like, yeah, Fantastic Four is 1602. And then the more I was reading, I was like, ooh.
All right, so I'm going to be positive first. I think 1602 is a great comic. I think the idea is great. The fact that we revisited it several times after is a cool idea. I love alternate universes. I think the art's awesome. I love the art. Specifically, I think like the Doctor Doom design, incredible. I love it. I love a lot of designs for these characters.
I love Medusa.
Medusa's awesome. Design. I can buy that Medusa 1602 variant because it looks great. I think the writing, for the most part, I think it's good. Peter David is a good writer. Like objectively, that dude is good with words. He's really good with like classic literature shit. Like he loves Shakespeare. Clearly, he loves him. He put him in this. I think the idea is really fun. Kidnapping Shakespeare to write your memoir. I think that's an awesome idea. The problem is Peter David. He has a problem with women. In a lot of his comics, he writes some egregious shit, especially with pregnant women. I don't know what he has against pregnant women, but this is not the first time he's written a pregnant woman as his main character poorly. I think it's a fun book. If I was reading this back in 2006, I I think I like the fridging of Black Widow for no good reason. It's a good Doctor Doom thing to do, but I don't think it's the right choice for this book. The way that Johnny Storm kidnaps a woman against her will is really a problem. And then, of course, because it's a man writing it, they write it in a way that, he's doing it for her intentions because, like, she needs to get out of this arranged marriage and he's a good person.
Well, and it's the 1600s, so, like,
so it's totally fine. Yeah, like, women rights, what are those, right? So, like, I think there's an incredible...
Which is shitty veneer to hide it behind.
Yes, there's really great stuff here. It's just unfortunate that, especially, like, in the 2000s, like, Peter David was really big in the 90s and 2000s. Like, his type of writing, when it involves women, can be really shit.
Oh yeah.
I think a lot of his male characters are pretty good. Like I really like his Doctor Doom. I think he's got a great voice for Doctor Doom. I think he's got a great voice for Ben Grimm when he's also not being a chauvinist for no reason. He's like, women on a ship. What are they doing here? And I'm like, Ben, and what is going on here? Besides that, I think it's a fun book. It's mired by some real shitty decisions.
I want to go next.
Hell yeah.
Because I have one thing I want to say about this book, and one thing only.
Only.
It was a decent swashbuckling adventure book. All right.
Yeah,
Sparks.
yeah. I like a lot of the elements of it. It's just like some of your choices that you make. Again, with all of your female characters, it bums me out that like also just like Marvel was cool with putting this book out because I'm just like the way the scene with the Invisible Woman and you see her fetus, like that's wild. That's a wild thing to do. I love the Fantastic Four. Also, why do they not look like the Fantastic Four in the book? Why does the Reed in this book in the covers have like a beard and then he doesn't have a beard?
Yeah.
I was real quickly, Ben. I was actively mad about that. So when you said I like the art, I said, I would have rather the characters look like the covers.
Sure, but I think like the art itself, like it's really good.
See, I don't think this is why I didn't want to talk. Nope, I had the one thing. I'm done.
No, do it.
No, it's fucking garbage. Like I sat there reading this damn book, thinking to myself, "Am I supposed to like this? Is this supposed to be something I'm supposed to like?" Because I'm not going on the show and talking about how much I hate this book, and the three of you are like, "Oh my god, it's fucking amazing." This book is garbage. It is chauvinistic. It is misogynistic. It is ugly. Frankly, I don't like the art. I don't care for the art. I think it is an ugly book. It is an ugly art style whose character designs are way better on the fucking covers.
If I may.
It is a fucking miracle I finished this garbage.
If I may, Brandon, while I was reading this, I too immediately regretted, or not immediately, but I too regret my decision on picking this book. Because as I was reading it, I was like, I was like, man. First of all, yeah, the characters, like the way they look on the covers, they don't look the same way in the book. Okay, that sucks because I really kind of want to see like a bearded Reed Richards. But the more I'm reading this, is like, yeah, the chauvinistic stuff definitely turned me off. There were some decent Doctor Doom moments. Like I did like the moment where he threw Natasha off the thing because she was like, "Hey, let's not do this dumb quest." But then all the other stuff, I was just like, "This is just bad."
I was enjoying the parts when it was just Doctor Doom kidnapping William Shakespeare. Sure. Yeah. That stuff, the swashbuckling aspect is really fun. The Doctor Doom stuff I really like. It's everything else that I'm just like, I just don't understand why why these choices were made. Why you would tell the Fantastic Four story in this way specifically? Like, why is Sue pregnant for this story? What does that add to it other than she's a strong pregnant female character who doesn't get treated well by anybody?
Not only that, the biggest problem I have with this book is at the very, very end where the Watcher comes out and Reed thinks he saw God.
Yeah.
For some reason, I mean, I know I haven't read enough Fantastic Four in my life to make a real to make a character study about Reed Richards, but I feel like I've read enough to know that Reed Richards is a man of science and he will always be a man of science. And even in 1602, he should be a man. He is a man of science, but then he's like, you see the Watcher, he's like, I saw God.
Well,
real quick,
not to give credit to the book, But at the whole point, like one of the points of the book is that he is a man of science, and his wife is like, you need to believe in God more. So this is him seeing a version of a God.
Importantly, this is also like, if you're going from the original 1602, it does incorporate for all of the characters, for what it's interpreting, the fact that God means something more to everyone in the culture at the time. It just is. And I do think that the comic is trying to carry on a piece of that here. That's not me defending this comic. That's just me saying like those things are connected. Like it is trying to live in its time period, and its time period is that everybody has a very particular belief about God. So it's actually weird for Reed not to. And that's part of it. Anyway, that being said, what I'll say that hasn't been said, because I pretty much agree with what has been said, especially from Brandon, is that
I'm sorry.
To me, what I didn't, you don't need to be sorry. I'm saying I agree with you.
Yeah.
I feel bad to get so mad.
To me,
no, dude. I think this was one of those. Sorry, Sparks, but this is one of those book clubs that I just threw a dart at and landed on. It's like
picked out of a hat.
Ben,
yeah,
Sparks.
Yeah. To me, what's so disappointing about this is that when you go like, especially because I went this week from 1602 to this, 1602 is doing such a good job of like thematically thinking about how this time period affects things that we should know about these characters, and how it's incorporating it, and how it's making little sly references or developing these little details about who they would be and how it would work in this time period and all these kinds of things. And this is just like, it's a dressed up 1600s Fantastic Four story, and like the most paint by numbers Fantastic Four story I've ever seen, especially when you include Namor at the end. Like, it's just like, these are all the things that, like, if you've kind of heard about the Fantastic Four, you expect to see in a Fantastic Four story. It's Reed being very sciencey and not paying enough attention to his wife. It's Ben clobbering things. It's Doom
being
very into Doom things, and then being like, how did I mistake this? Doom! And then it's Namor being like really into Sue and trying to take her away from Reed. It's Reed getting jealous, and it's Johnny Storm just being into all the women. And that's all of it. And I'm like, this is the most like bland, direct, tropey, commonplace Fantastic Four stuff. Like, there's nothing special about it being set in this time period. Not really.
Yeah.
There's nothing
it's
special
about it's William Shakespeare's the only.
There's nothing special about the story.
Yeah.
If this comic book had "'Tis the Clobbering Hour" on as dialogue in this book, I would give it a little bit more enjoyment. But it doesn't, and I really despise the choice to make Sue completely invisible. Then that's her power. She only has invisibility, and she is invisible. She cannot control it or whatever. However, that's done, and so she's translucent also. So like she acts very much like Wonder Woman's invisible jet, which is ridiculous. Because that's not how invisibility works. You're not see-through when you're invisible. So when you have this, there's a boy's character called Translucent. He's invisible and he's not translucent. But like, and then you have like she becomes visible only so the book can do the trope of Namor liking Sue. There was no thought to that decision to make Sue completely invisible, what that would mean for the character, what that would be. It's so surface level. And then you realize your mistake halfway through the book of like, oh, well, if I'm going to have Namor in this book, I had to make Sue visible somehow. She uses a lot of powers and she's visible again.
And like I was thinking of something really cool, but it's from 1602. It's from the original book. It's Cyclops and Jean Grey. Cyclops shooting the ocean to launch a boat into the air, and then Jean Grey using her mind to keep it afloat. So it's the helicarrier, but it's an old boat. And Nick Fury is like the commander of a floating helicarrier. That's
not the story.
And I was like, yeah, that's not the story. Again, like this book's not good. It is somewhat salvaged for me because how much I love Doctor Doom and how unfortunate like Peter David is a decent writer only with men
of certain
characters. Yeah, and like I wish I felt this way about his Reed, but I think his Reed's pretty boring. It's just, hey, what do you know about Reed Richards? That's all this book is, like the tropey shit. Whereas Doctor Doom, I think Doctor Doom's hilarious. I think the mask is really cool. I love his minions. I love the Vulture minions. I love the Fearsome Four. All the Doctor Doom stuff I'm a big fan of. It's just unfortunate that this couldn't have been just a Doctor Doom book. It had to be a Fantastic Four book where he is not good at writing women. Real quick, I talk about X Factor. So there's Siren. there's Teresa Cassidy, and there's the Multiple Man, right? Multiple Man, he can make dupes of himself, right? He creates a clone of himself. That clone will do something. He can absorb it back into his body and get that data, get that information, right? He has a baby with Simon, with Teresa. When that baby is born, she gives the baby to Jamie Madrox. And what happens? The baby gets absorbed by the Jamie and it dies. That's what happens in X Factor 100. Peter David has a thing about pregnant women, and it's weird. And I don't know what it is, because this is not the first time or the second time or the third time something like this has happened in one of his books. And I'm glad you picked this book, Ben. One, because we read a lot of comics. We read one every week, and we try to pick all good books. It's important to read bad books to know what not to do in a comic book. It is important to know what not to do, so we can very much realize what a good book should have. And this is a prime example of, man, remember how comics used to be gross? And white men who wrote comics are disgusting. Yeah, this is that perfect era of that. So while I am glad you picked this book, Ben, for some great Doctor Doom stuff. I always love a Vulture helicarrier. That's fun. Everything else was awful. And I was so excited. I was so excited for this one.
I'll agree with the Doctor Doom stuff. Some of that stuff is pretty funny, but it's just nothing here for me.
Yeah, if Doctor Doom weren't in this book, like, this would be unsalvageable.
I'm so pleased Brandon went off his leash. I love it.
No, it's not. Yeah, no. Like, this is, of all the books like that we've talked about, this is certainly one where that is allowed.
Frankly, I'm surprised that came out of me.
Yeah.
Like, I was pretty indifferent to the book when I was reading it, and when I was done, I was like, I would just won't have anything to say during the show. And so, like, just something triggered me about this book.
The worst thing would be that you wouldn't say anything, and then that'd be like even worse. So, like, the fact that you had a response to this means, like, this is a bad comic, and it is doing bad things. This is not what you want to read in a comic book. And it's a bummer. It's a bummer. I'm glad to read a comic that I've never read before. It's a shame it wasn't very good.
All right. Well, that'll
I wish
do
I could
that,
forget this comic. All right.
Man, if you want, hey, you should reread 1602. It's awesome. It's like, comparatively, it's a masterpiece.
You want to cleanse your palate? That's
oh my
a much
god.
better
Oh my god.
place.
The stuff with Nick Fury. It might be my favorite Nick Fury I've ever read. He is. I miss old Nick Fury. Not that Sam Jackson Nick Fury isn't cool, but old Nick Fury was incredibly ballsy and hardcore in a way that the new Nick Fury just kind of isn't. Yeah, Nick Fury's great. Read 1602.
All right, Ryan, it's your book club next week. Do you know what it is?
I sure do.
Excuse me.
Hey guys, we're gonna see an Ant-Man movie soon, so I'm gonna do what I always do. I'm gonna pick a thing that relates to a thing. Hey guys, Scott Lang is back and he's doing better than ever, at least according to him and his daughter Stinger. We're gonna read Ant-Man that came out in 2020, written by Zeb Wells and drawn by Dylan Burnett with colors by Michael Spicer. I only read the first issue of this book and it was wonderful. And then I stopped reading it because that's always what happens with comics. So we're gonna read a nice 5-issue little Ant-Man miniseries written by Zeb Wells, the God.
I honestly thought you were going to pick the Al Ewing Ant-Man.
That's way too recent. That's like just came out.
All right. So next week, stay tuned for our discussion of Scream 3 and Scream 4. Sorry, Scriphorum. Scream 3 and Scriphorum. So yeah, that should be fun. Cool, guys. Thank you so much for listening and watching. If you can like this video and just subscribe to this channel, you can check out all sorts of shows such as Fake Nerds Watch. Fake Nerds Watch is our TV show. We talk about TV shows on that one. Currently going through The Last of Us. Sparks, Ryan, and our good friend Pi are going through the Last of Us episode by episode. Check that out. The episode 5 now. Yes,
Episode 4 will be.
Episode 5 is coming.
Episode 4 aired
Came out tonight,
so we'll be talking about episode 4 this week.
I'm not talking about that. Episode 5 is being released on a Friday because of the Super Bowl.
Oh, I got you. Okay, I didn't know that actually.
Yeah, they just announced that today because the Super Bowl is Sunday. So this coming Sunday, right?
I wonder if they're going to move it off of the Oscars as well. Its finale is lined up with Oscars.
Oh my god!
I don't think they care that much.
Man, we're gonna have double Pedro Pascal month because it's gonna overlap with Mando for a week or two.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Also next week's Super Bowl trailer, so whatever trailers they release for that, I'm sure we'll talk
Fast
about.
and Furious,
Fast X.
Transformers.
Fast X and Transformers for sure. We'll probably get a Secret Invasion. I would
The
imagine.
Flash. We're getting the Flash too.
We are getting the Flash. Finally getting the Flash.
All's good in Flash world. Flashland.
Cool. Oh, I remember that. Cool. So check out that show, Fake Nerds Watch, which also has an audio show, which you can find linked below. Basement Arcade, which is a video game Let's Play series. Basement Arcade Pause Menu, which is our video game discussion series. Of course, you can check out the latest episode of that, which is the Q4 for 2024. Nope. Q4 for 2022. Where the three of these gentlemen, excuse me, the quarterly wrap up.
Video games.
That's right.
Linked below. Fake Nerd Book Club and Animation Station also shows you can check out on this channel. Again, if you like this video and subscribe to this channel, lots of cool, exciting things coming soon. So, of course, check out our Patreon, check out our TeePublic if you'd like to support us financially. We'd appreciate any little help you can give us. Those are linked below, as well as on our website at fakenerdpodcast.com, which is linked below. Everything you could ever want from the Fake Nerd Podcast, that's there. That's at that website. It's a home link for literally everything, and you can find that on linked below. Thank you to everyone who listens. Thank you to everyone who watches the live show. Thank you to everyone who watches the replay. We greatly appreciate all of your support. We'd love you guys. Thank you to Jeremy Vellucci, who did the music, all the music you heard here tonight.
What I found.
Oh, that's cool.
Wow, I think it's a combo pack that came with the Xbox.
Wild. Grayson saying, thank you for the update and company. Sleep well and enjoy the week. Thank you as well, sir.
Thank you, Grayson.
Thank you to Grayson. Thank you to Mag.
Thank you to Grayson. Thank you to Mag, of course. You can find Jeremy Vellucci at Jeremy Vellucci Keyboards. Nope, Jeremy Vellucci _ Wreck of Time. For his band, The Wreck of Time. You can also find his podcast, Suburban Proctologist, on iTunes, Suburban Proctologist Official on Facebook, and Subproc Podcast on Instagram. Thank you to Mike Matola. Big news, Mike Matola will be on the show soon.
I am so excited. not just because I love Mike, but we haven't done an MCU talk in a long time, and I just like talking about the MCU. So I'm so stoked for this.
We are doing, I think I can probably say it now, but we are doing a wrap up of Phase 4. We're going to rank Phase 4, and this time we're going to do it with Mike Matola. That episode will be up sometime.
Sometime after the next episode.
You know what's going to be really funny? If he shows up and he's like, yeah, I didn't watch any of them.
He texted me. He was like, I gotta catch up. When I first approached him about this, I haven't seen this, and this, and this. I was like, you probably should. Mag says, no problems. Take care again later. Of course. Thank you. You can find Mike at Mike Matola on Instagram and TikTok. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all at Fake Nerd Podcast. If you'd like to get in touch with us personally, fakenerdguys@gmail.com. If you'd like to get in touch with us personally. I'm a BT McClure on Instagram and Twitter. I also write for CBR. I edit for KaijuRamenMedia.com. Links to most recent articles that I've done for both of those are down below, as well as magazine. And I also write for AtomicGeekdom.com. My Revisiting the Infinity Saga series is returning soon, so stay tuned. Ben?
You can find me anxiously waiting for the brand new microphone that I literally ordered at the first hour of us recording this podcast. I have Ben Mac27 on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. You can also find me writing for Fusion Gaming Magazine, Old School Gamer Magazine, and GoNintendo.com, as well as playing Mary Frankenstein in the podcast D and Dark, which the link is down in the description below.
By the way, D and Dark, he doesn't use his blog on our website, but D and Dark is linked through his blog on our website. So, Sparks?
You can find me saying, remember me, Sydney, at Sparks Witty on Instagram and Twitter, SPARKZ Witty.
Ryan?
You could find me watching all of my favorite scary movies at DJ Tony Snark 616.
All right, guys. Subscribe to us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music and Podcast, and Pandora. Rate and review wherever you get us. We greatly appreciate it. Like this video, subscribe to this channel. And until next time you see us, stay fake nerds.